Please don't push me, but y'all push B. Now we got dwellers from Cali to Flatbush B. Now they got heat on they feet that say press B. And now we so deep in the streets, y'all can't stress me. Can't curse me, then bless me. I'm crucifying my flesh, that's less me. SAT'd from preaching, can't test me. Atheists are now believing, that bless me. Yeah, we got the basement replacing any of those worldly pursuits that y'all chasing. Any of those trials and tests that y'all facing. Any of the relationships that y'all changing. We rearranging, making the shame shift. Giving Satan back what's his, that's the blame shift. Rise up and walk commands, that's the lame shift. Cheat codes for living this life, that's the game shift. All on Yeshua, man, the rest is manure, man. I'm dying daily, so I rise up a purer man. Pressing B daily, so my sins looking fewer, man. Washing the blood, so my sins down the sewer, man. Yeah, so press B with me, and let's let whatever gon' be just be. Yeah, so press B with me, and let's let whatever gon' be just be. Welcome to the basement, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Tim Ross. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have just had a great day. No matter what kind of day you're having, actually. I'm just glad you are here. Thank you for trusting us to provide a safe environment, for you to be able to give us the gift of your vulnerability, and for us to be able to give you the gift of ours. I'm so grateful that you pressed B. Speaking of which, shout out to my press B'ers. Shout out to my dwellers. Shout out to our promoters. I really appreciate you all supporting us and being there for us in the way that you are. Also, for those generous souls on Cash App and PayPal, I love you. And I ask you every single week almost, what are you doing? Like, why are you even, don't you have a latte to buy? Isn't there? But your support is the reason why we get to be out here the way we are, unapologetically. And I'm grateful for it. Hey, listen, I'm so hyped about my guest. Like, I literally, as composed as I am, as chill as I sound, as relaxed as my disposition and body language is showing you, I'm turned up, fam. And the reason why I'm turned up is because I have one of my closest friends and confidants who also happens to be my life coach. We are former coworkers, and we are lifelong friends. Or I should say, yes, we are lifelong friends because we're going to be together until Jesus comes back. I haven't known her lifelong, but I feel like I have. And I'm just so grateful that she's here with us today. She is a therapist, life coach, a sex therapist, heavy on the sex therapy. Praise God. And she has helped me not murder people and kept me sane through some pretty triggering episodes in my life. And I'm forever grateful for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to some and introduce to others the one, the only, my homie, forever. Nancy Houston is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go! I'm so happy.
Oh, Tim Ross. I was thinking about you today, of course, because I knew I was coming to be with you.
Yeah?
And one of my favorite things about you is, you've been in my leadership group for
6 years.
6 years.
Uh-huh.
One of the things I love about you is you're one of the most coachable people I know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you are. A lot of people, like my son said the other day, he's coaching a 11-year-old boys baseball team, and he said, a lot of players don't want to be coached. They want to play, but they don't want to be coached. And I'm like, isn't that true? And he said, that's just human nature. And I'm like, it is human nature.
Wow.
Right? But you, I may present something, that I can tell is even a hard pill for you to swallow.
You've done that multiple times.
Oh my goodness. But then I will watch you at the next break or at lunch. You'll go outside, you'll get on the phone, and you will do the hard thing.
Yep.
And then you'll come back in. I'm like, hey, what was going on? And you're like, you know that thing that you challenged me on? I just did it.
Yep.
And I'm like, you don't even wait till the day's over. You know what I mean? Like, you are like, oh, I made that phone call.
It's very true.
It's so true about you. You are so coachable.
Thank
One of my
you.
favorite stories. So I used to do a leadership group in New York, and I was with one of the couples. So John Townsend had a group for the men. I had a group for the women, and we were having like a glass of wine afterwards. And I said to one of the husbands, like, your wife is so coachable.
Wow.
And that's just, it's a gift. It's rare.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he said, well, here's the thing I learned about being coachable, Nancy. He said, I belong to a millionaires club. And he said one time, but if you couldn't make your group, you could go like, maybe he belonged to billionaires. He said, if you couldn't make your group, you could go to the millionaire.
Wow.
And if you couldn't make your millionaire group, you could go to the folks who make like, you know, a couple 100,000 a year, whatever, you know.
Starts going down fast
I know,
after
I'm
those
like,
millionaires.
I'm like, oh, anyway.
Yeah.
They had a lot of money. Anyway, he said, and what I learned from going to those different groups is when the coach would tell the billionaires what to do, they would do it immediately.
Wow.
He said, when I went to the millionaires group, they had to have a little bit of argument pushback. When I went to the group where they make maybe 100,000 a year, they would like, nah, we can't do it, and here's why. No, we can't do that, and here's why. And that wouldn't work for me, and you don't get my situation. And I'm like, wow, being coachable is masterful. So I just want to tell you that you are a huge gift that way, because it's so fun to be able to coach somebody who's coachable.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
That means a lot to me coming from you.
Yeah, man, it means a lot to me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I
because
did not expect you to say that.
well, you're like a highlight. You're a bright spot.
Thank you.
Yeah, you really are. You're
Thank
a bright
you.
spot.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Ooh, okay, I feel good. I feel good about life. Okay, so we could talk about anything.
We could.
We could literally talk about anything. I'm ready to jump on any wave that you want to jump on.
Yeah.
What the dwellers don't know that I want them to know is my time with you in the last 6 years is visible here. Every week, the only thing that I'm replicating is what you give me and 9 other people once a month for 8 hours. So get this, y'all, right? We do a pod and, you know, I might have a guest, or we do a live. We might go 2 hours and stuff, or, you know, if I do a solo pod and we'll answer questions and we'll talk whatever, maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm with this woman and 9 other people, cohort, men and women, for 8 hours once a month for the last 6 years.
Yeah. It's intense, isn't
It's
it?
very intense.
We go there, don't we?
We go there.
We go there.
Yeah.
My son was saying this morning he's become an executive coach, and he coaches my groups now.
That's right.
And he said, Mom, what you do is you get out your, what do you call that? Like a lasso? He said, you get that out, you swing it a few times, and you reach for people's hearts, and you pull them in. And then they just start opening up their hearts, and then we start our day.
That's right.
You know?
That's exactly what you do. That's a beautiful, good job, Micah.
Yeah, good job, Micah. Right. And I'm like, that's always my heart for people, is how can we reach your heart? How can you and I together reach your heart?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, scripture says above all else,
Mm-hmm.
it is to be guarded because it is precious.
That's right.
And I don't think we get the preciousness of
Mm.
our hearts.
Mm.
And we live in this incredibly cognitive world. And we've given brainiacs so much power. Not that I'm against brainiacs, I'm not. But we have almost belittled the value of our hearts and how if we can reach our hearts, we can change our lives. I don't think, I love information. You know I love information.
Yeah, you and I both.
I'm a learner junkie.
Yeah, me too.
But it's when we can connect what we've learned to our hearts that our lives are changed.
Okay, so this is one spark that's firing off already. Is that some of us are trying to fill our heads at the expense of our hearts.
I really think we are, Tim. I really think we are. And I think we can give learning all of the power or our thinking all of the power. And I think thinking is extremely important.
For sure. Yeah.
Right? But if you are not connected to what you are experiencing emotionally, you're disconnected from yourself. And a self that is disconnected from the self cannot connect with others. And we were made for connection. And so I think connection is one of the most important things we do. And without it, we are sort of like the Walking Dead.
We're zombies for sure.
Aren't we?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of conversation around the difference between a community and an audience. That I'm not interested in growing an audience.
No.
I'm interested in growing a community of people.
Yes.
Who are committed to vulnerability.
Absolutely. It's got to be more than, like in our churches, it's got to be more than butts in the seat.
Period.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, what are we valuing?
Yeah.
And I heard you say that on one of your podcasts, like, I want to cultivate a community.
That's right.
Which means we are connected to each other. It's
right.
not you're some talking head.
Right, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
no, I'm connecting with you and you're connecting with me.
Yeah.
And we feel it.
Yeah, we feel it. It's so compelling now that, many places that I go, our community cannot help but to say hi.
Yeah.
Right? And that makes me feel amazing. It's not this standoffish, like, oh, that's the guy I listen to. And, oh, I'm not going to say anything. Or where it's like celebrity. It's like, no. I've been in your house, which they kind of have, right? I've been in the house with you, and for some of them, I've answered their question, right? I've literally answered their question during our Q&A time or something like that. And it's like, man, I really want to, I'm trying to grow a community.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And that's because you've become this man who's deeply connected to his own heart. And so you want to help other people do that.
That's right.
And it's changed your life.
It has.
Right?
It has. All right. So I want them to know about you as much as you would like to tell us. And then I just want to go wherever you want to go.
Okay.
Whatever's on your heart, whatever you brought in with you today, I want it.
Okay.
And I know you always bring something with you because you spend a lot of time with him.
Yes.
And then you bring it out to us. So, yeah.
Okay, so I want us to talk about relationships.
Okay.
Because that's always burning in my heart.
Absolutely.
Our relationships can be our sweet spots, and they can be what's ripping us to shreds.
Absolutely correct.
So I want to go there.
Yep.
So what? I'm an open book.
Yeah.
What would you like me to share with your audience about me, Tim?
Yeah, I would love them to have a context to your upbringing.
Okay.
Because it is, there's so many therapists that and I know this is not you. This is why I feel comfortable asking you this question.
Yeah.
Some therapists believe that, like, I want to be transparent, but I'm also a therapist.
Yes.
Right, right.
They like that to maintain that professional distance.
Right, exactly.
Yes. I was trained to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and then I decided that is whacked.
I love you.
Because then I stopped feeling like I was human.
Yeah.
And I started feeling lonely.
Mm.
And I'm like, this is not working for me.
Yeah.
I'm a human, you are a human.
Yeah.
And part of our connection is our messy humanity.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Yeah.
So I'd love to share with you, your audience about my history.
Yeah, for sure.
So, man, born and raised in a little town in Oregon. My dad was a World War II vet.
Mm-hmm.
He was on 3 ships that sank.
Wow.
Yeah. So later in life, I would sit him down and say, tell me your stories, because I wanted to know him.
Yeah.
And I was trying to understand him. And he would say, Nancy, you'd think that every man in the Navy would know how to swim, but they didn't. And he said, so one was friendly fire, was one of the sinkings. One was like a typhoon or a hurricane out in the ocean. Another one was enemy fire. And he said, one of them, we swam to the shore. Some of us did, those who could swim. We swam the shore, and then I watched my buddies being beaten to death while they were trying to climb up, and the force of the ocean against the rocks was just too much. And so he saw so much death.
Yeah.
He had already run away from home at 15 years old, so you know that home life wasn't good.
Yeah, for sure.
And my grandmother was a little Irish woman who had a hot, flaring temper.
Uh-huh.
And they did not get along.
Wow.
And so he ran away young. And then he lied to get into the military because he wanted to eat. He was hungry.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when he got out of the military, he went back to riding bulls in the rodeo, which is what he'd grown up doing that.
Yeah.
He was raised on ranches.
Yeah.
And busted open his head, spent 4 months in the hospital with a brain injury. So, I mean, I'm like, oh, as a therapist, you were explaining your brain to me. Severe PTSD, severe childhood trauma, and then a severe brain injury. And so by the time I was born, my dad had become an attorney. He was really smart, and he was successful and could pull it together. But at home, he was mean and violent. Not all the time. He could also be brilliant and funny.
Yeah.
He was complex. So I loved my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, and I still get choked up
Yeah.
when I talk about him.
Yeah.
Because he was just this brilliant, broken man. I loved him. And he terrified me. You know.
Two things can be true.
Yeah, right? I've learned how to, integration is when we learn how to hold the good, the bad, the sad, the wonderful, the funny, the complex, and we can hold them all together.
Yeah.
Well, that was my dad.
Yeah.
And so I think to cope with all his internal pain, he partied. Everything he did hard. So he partied hard. He worked hard. And he could come home, and I learned how to try to assess his mood. And so when he'd come home in a bad mood, I'd first try to soothe and smooth him. Like, Dad, lay on the couch and I'll rub your feet. You know what I mean? Or I'd run in my room and clean my room to make sure that he had no reason to come after me. But he'd come after me anyway.
Yeah.
He didn't need a reason to be violent.
Yeah.
Sometimes I could be playing the piano and he didn't like the noise, so he would come after you. And what I mean by that is he would beat you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I grew up in a home with a lot of violence. Tim, I'm telling you, it's so interesting. Even as a therapist, when you know all the things you know. But like 10 years ago, I'm like, oh, I grew up with domestic violence. I always visualized domestic violence as like husband against wife, wife against husband.
Right.
But I never saw my father physically violate my mother, but he would beat us 3 kids regularly.
Wow.
So it was just a regular occurrence.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I grew up terrified he'd also be sexually abusive to not just me, but to my siblings as well. So we all grew up in violence. We grew up with sexual abuse. We grew up with verbal abuse, you know, and that was how we grew up. And that was my normal.
So here's one of the things I love about you. And this I know for a fact it's going to be an emotional podcast for me because every time I talk to you, I wind up crying. But
Me too. Me too.
You did start it.
I cried first.
You did. I think one of the gifts you have been to me is the space you hold as a therapist, but then the space that you also hold as a friend. And you've never been afraid to dance across both of those lines when necessary.
Yeah.
You haven't chosen one for the other or vice versa. You have been both. And I knew this because of my time at Gateway. But I did not, I wasn't able to appreciate it until I met you specifically. And that is, white people usually don't tell
Really?
their story
Yeah.
as honestly as you. Maybe I shouldn't say as honestly, as readily
Yeah. Yeah.
as you.
Yeah.
When I was at Potter's House for 13 and a half years, the collective experience of African Americans and their pain and their shared experience and their trauma, we're ready to give you our testimony.
Yeah.
We've been molested. We've been raped.
Yes.
We've been abused. We've
Yes.
been beaten. We've been scorned. We've been whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then I got to Gateway,
Yeah.
and it was like, we
Do not.
are okay.
Yes, we are fine.
We are in South Lake and Trophy Club, and we are in North Richland Hills, and we're good
Yes, we are.
until they got into my office.
Yeah. Right?
And then it was like, oh, y'all ain't good either.
No.
It's just that in the hood, they go get a 40 ounce from the liquor store.
Yeah.
And in South Lake, they go to Central Market and they go just get 2 bottles of wine.
Yes. Or 3 or 4. Yes. Yeah.
We all gonna wind up drunk at the end of the night,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just, how we get there is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that there was just there was a facade.
Yeah.
And when I met you, that thing I was just like, you were the most refreshingly honest, readily available person to share
Thank you.
and identify and not practice at the expense of being known.
That just means so much to me. So thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm taking that in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know why I'm that way? I'm sitting here going, why am I that way? And I'm like, I know exactly why I'm that way. Tim, I was raised in a home. We lived at the end of the street in the 2-story, at the end of the cul-de-sac
Yep.
in the 2-story perfect looking White House.
Yep.
My father was the city attorney and at times the judge.
Wow.
My mother was a socialite. She had bridge clubs. We belonged to all the country clubs.
Yeah.
It all looked so perfect from the outside,
Yep.
Tim.
Yep.
And on the inside, it was a living hell. But believe me, nobody better know about that. And with my mother, it was all about, you better look right. And you better never say a word about this. I remember one time, I don't know, I guess I was walking home with my girlfriends from 5th grade, and I guess we talked about sex. Oh, I don't even know what I said. She got a phone call, I got a lecture. Don't you ever talk about sex.
Wow.
Like that again. You embarrassed me. Don't you ever embarrass me. And if my mother came to anything, like if, I was a cheerleader, and I knew that she was coming to evaluate if I was sitting like a lady. Wow. If I looked like a lady. Because that's what it was all about. So it's all about pretenses.
Yeah, optics.
And I'd always say my mother raised me to marry the governor.
Mm.
But I remember when I was 6 years old, I used to sit and curl my own hair, and because my mother had made a vanity table for me, of course.
Of course she did.
So I'd curl my hair because that was one way I could get her approval. If I could do nice little rows, she would be so proud of me. So I'd sit and curl my hair. But I remember looking in that mirror and saying, I will not marry for money. I will marry for love. So, and thankfully I did.
Yeah, you did.
But at 6, I was determining, like, I will not live this way.
Wow.
It is not worth it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the only reason my mother could have married my father was for money.
Yeah.
Because she could see he was going to make it.
Yeah.
And have prestige and do well, but it is not worth it.
Yeah.
And Tim, I think I identify with your community. My favorite shows growing up were shows where there were African Americans.
Yeah.
And they were like I love Shirley Temple, not because of Shirley Temple,
Yeah.
but because of the Black community. And I identified, I'm like, oh, I get what it's like to be under the thumb of a white, powerful man.
Because you were.
I was. He was the boss. He had all the power. And us kids were nothing. We had no value, and he let us know that on a daily basis. And he held all the power.
Wow.
And so we're reminded of that.
Yeah.
And all he ever said was to us is, I'm going to teach you damn kids how to work. And so it's like, we knew how to work. We were, honestly, I know it's way different. I don't want to make comparisons that are inappropriate, but, I kind of felt like, well, I'm his little slave. I'm just here to look perfect, act perfect, and do whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing to serve him.
Yeah.
So.
Listen, so I'm sitting here thinking about vulnerability.
Yeah.
And how the power of a story that's told unedited
Yeah.
can connect you with a person.
Yeah, I can.
By no stretch of the imagination would the average person in America conceive a white woman from a small town in Oregon having such a close, deep relationship with a Black dude
I know.
from Inglewood, California,
That's
right?
right.
Right?
Right.
But when the life that is being shared is at the forefront,
Yeah.
and not our pigmentation and not our geography and not our socioeconomic status, the connection happens fast
It does.
because pain doesn't know a zip code.
No.
Trauma has no socioeconomic meter to be like, are you making $40,000 and under? We're definitely coming to your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alcoholism, drugs,
Yeah.
abuse, violence. Oh, yeah, damn it, they make over 6 figures. Can't go in there.
I know.
Just send happiness and joy over there. We can't get over into that neighborhood. There's a gate.
Yeah.
All the problems are stopped. Their house is at the end of the cul-de-sac. We can't walk all the way back there. Their house is a 2-story.
Yeah.
No, it's like there is a connection that we can all have if we gave ourselves permission to tell our story unedited.
Our humanity.
Our humanity.
Yes.
So I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, I'm glad.
Because I know the story. I just
Yeah.
Every time you tell it, I'm just more endeared to you because it's a, one of the things that we love doing is breaking stereotypes.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a shattering of a stereotype when you share your story.
Yeah. I like that.
So
I want to do more of that, Tim.
You're doing it.
That's what we need, isn't it?
It is.
And giving others permission that they can do the same thing.
Absolutely correct.
You know? So, yeah.
Okay. So I want to do one more thing before we get to relationships, because once we get on relationships, we are going to be out in the deep blue sea, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being curious enough about your father.
Oh, yeah. It was so good. You know, Tim, I had to do a lot of work to get there.
Absolutely. For sure.
I mean, so more of my story is I became a Christian at 14 years old. My parents had gone to like Europe for a month. And so my sister snuck to church with our neighbors. We could only go to church for social reasons. But my dad used to say, we will never be Jesus freaks because we are people who pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Wow. So we don't need a crutch. Do you kids hear me? We don't need any crutches. And so, right, yeah.
That's gangster.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus is a crutch.
He could be a real gangster. And so she went to church and accepted Jesus, came home, told me. And I'm like, I just cried and cried because I'm like, I have been praying. I've been asking God if he's alive. Because, you know, when I was growing up, it's God is dead. Mm-hmm. So I was like, God, I don't know. There's something inside of me that I think you're alive. I think there's got to be something bigger than all of this because this isn't so good. And so there's got to be something bigger. And I'd actually gone to an Assembly of God kindergarten because it was the only kindergarten in town and my parents wanted me to go to kindergarten.
Interesting.
And so I think I had probably accepted Christ there, but I was only 5, so you know how that is.
Right, for sure.
And so here I am, 14, and I'm just always praying, like, God, if you're alive, I want to know you. And so she goes to church, comes home, tells me, I received Jesus today. I'm like, how'd you do it? I want it.
Wow.
And so she led me to Christ in my parents' bedroom, who I despised my parents. I hated them. I hated my mother for not protecting me.
Yeah.
And I hated my father for being so abusive.
Yeah.
And so, oh my goodness, like when I received Christ, like I cried and cried. They had blue shag carpet in their bedroom. I'll never forget that room because I cried and cried like I was crying rivers of hatred and bitterness towards them.
Wow.
Rivers,
wow.
right? So, you know, eventually my dad and mom both become Christians. My mom used to say, even when I was 5 and 6, I'd say, Mom, are we Christians? You know, because I was going to this little kindergarten. And she'd be watching As the World Turns and ironing my dad's handkerchiefs. And I'd be thinking, dear God, I hope that's not my future. I hope that's not my future.
Handkerchiefs.
Oh, I know. I'm like, dear God, just kill me now if that's my future. Right? Just take me now. And I'd say, Mom, are we Christians? And she'd say, oh, yes. And I'd say, why? And she'd say, because we're good people. And I'd say, Mom, I don't think we're that good.
Out of the mouth of babes.
Right.
The 5-year-old is, wow.
So eventually my parents do become Christians. And we start going to this church. And, you know, Tim, there's just something about when you've already been violated a lot, it's kind of like you got a target on your chest or something.
Yeah. I know that feeling.
Then I'm sexually assaulted by the youth pastor. And so kind of like trauma upon trauma, right? So the best gift that happened to me was I married my high school sweetheart as soon as I graduated from high school.
Wow. And
I got married, and for the first time in my life, I could sleep because I felt so safe with this. I mean, to me, he was a man. He was 18. I mean, he's probably a boy, man. You know what I mean?
He was a boy man.
He was a boy man. But, man, we felt safe with each other.
Yeah.
And so, and then we had during our 20s, we had 4 kids. We went to church all the time. Every time a bad feeling about my past would come up, I'd just say, I forgive, I forgive, I forgive. Wow. And that was kind of my only way of knowing how to cope with my past.
Yeah, understood.
Was just try to forgive. And that's what I've been taught to do. And I've kind of been taught, you know, forgiving solves it all. And so I'm like, well, then I'm practicing forgiveness because, man, I'm looking for ways to solve.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of this agony that I'm carrying around with me every day, pretending I'm fine. So, but finally one day when I was 33, I could not hold it all in anymore. And usually all the boys had sports on Saturday, but it was raining. I spent that day on my bathroom floor, and I couldn't get up. Except every now and then I'd go out to the garage because my husband was out in the garage. And I'd go out and say, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm great. I am finally cleaning up this garage. I am the happiest man in the world." And I'm like, "No, I think there's something wrong with you." Because it couldn't be me. There couldn't be anything wrong with me.
Wow.
I could not fall apart. I was not allowed to fall apart. My mother trained me, so, no, you look perfect, you act perfect, you do perfect. You have no permission to be a mess. And here I am. I've been stuffing that down at this point for 30 years. And it was all coming up on this day. And I'd like, "God, what are you doing? This can't be happening to me." So I'd go back out in the garage. "Honey, are you okay?"
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm like watching a movie right now.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
jacking me up.
Oh, me too, man. I remember it. He's like sweeping out the garage, you know. And then I went out a third time. I'm like, "Babe, there's got to be something wrong with you today." He's like, "Honey, I'm fine." And then the fourth time I went out, I can't remember. I threw something at him. I'm like, "Dude, there's got to be something wrong with you, and you're not being honest with me." He's like, poor man. He's as innocent as can be.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm just like, "It can't be me. It can't be me. It can't be me." And so then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's me. Like, there's something not right with me." And I've completely disassociated from all my childhood.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's just too
Yeah, it was too much.
much.
Yeah, for sure.
How does one little human contain all that?
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the next day at church, there's a therapist who goes to our church. Thank the Lord. I go up beside Brock at the end of the service, like side by side. I don't stand in front of him. I just stand side beside him. I said, "Hey, I think there's something wrong with me. Can I come see you?" He said, "Yes, 1:00 tomorrow." I went 1:00 on Mondays for like the next 3 years.
Wow.
I got into his waiting room the next day, like at 12:45. I'm sitting in this waiting room. I'm going, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything's okay. I'm fine. I should leave. I don't need to be here. I'm fine." You know what I mean? Right? And then he comes out and he says, "Come on back." I'm like, "Oh." Cuss words.
You can say cuss words. I can't.
Oh, cuss words. and so I go back and he's like, we sit down. He said, "Well, tell me about your childhood." And I sit there without a tear and told him. Now I decided, it's so funny, Tim. I decided, okay, I'm not talking about any sexual abuse. Like, that's not happening. That is not happening. I'll start with the easiest. So I started with the violence because that was the easiest.
Yep.
I don't know why.
Yep.
I put these in categories.
Yep, absolutely.
And so, I started talking about like how my dad could just regularly just beat you up, belts, punches, kicks, slaps, whatever, pull your hair, punch you in the gut, didn't matter. And so, the man sat there and cried. And I'm like, I don't have a tear.
Wow.
Right. And I'm like, then I start trying to comfort him because that was my role in my family. And I'm like, "Hey, it wasn't that bad. I survived.
I'm here.
Right.
Right.
I'm pretty happy."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's like, "You have PTSD. You grew up in violence." I'm like, "It wasn't that bad. There were good times. Like, we went on great trips. I got to ski all the time. I got to go play golf at the country club and play tennis at the other country club. I had a lot of fun." He's like, "Nancy, in between those fun things, I'm a 7. I'm an Enneagram 7. I love fun." Now you know why, because it was what saved me.
Right, exactly. Right? Yeah.
And he's like, "Man, that was horrible." So we just started working through it. And after about 6 months, God's so sweet.
Yeah.
I learned to, every Sunday night, I would have a traumatic dream. I mean, like somebody's trying to chase me, rape me,
Yeah.
And I finally, you know, at first I'm like, oh my gosh, God, you must hate me. Like, this is awful. How can you bring up these memories? You know, then I decided, you know what? God reveals to heal.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
God reveals to heal.
God reveals to heal. As much as I didn't want that stuff revealed.
Yeah.
And so I finally started talking to Brock about all the sexual trauma that I had gone through. And, man, rip your guts out. But had to happen.
Had to
happen.
Yeah, it was
had to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had to happen. You know, and in the meantime, like, I'm like, God, you're so amazing. Because, like, my husband and I have been married almost 50 years. Our next anniversary will be year 50. I know, isn't that amazing?
My parents, too.
Oh, my gosh. Are you serious?
Yep, they'll be married 50 years
I think you're the
next
same
year.
age as our oldest son. How old?
48.
Our oldest son's 48. Yeah. We had
1975. Yes.
Yep. That's our son.
Let's go. Yep.
And so that's why I love you like you're one of my sons.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So, you know, all through this, even working through my trauma, like Ron and I always had this really sweet sex life that was redemptive and healing and safe and good, you know? And so when I started working through my sexual trauma, I'm like, okay, because I'd go to like sexual trauma groups where I'd hear other women's stories.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I can't have sex without throwing up. Or I haven't had sex with my husband for 5 years. And I'm like, man, I don't want that to be me.
Yeah.
Like, this is a sweet spot for us.
Yeah.
And I don't want to wreck it.
Yeah.
I don't want to let my history wreck what's sweet and redemptive.
Yeah.
And, you know, you and I both love the Word of God.
Yes, we do.
You know, and 1 Corinthians 7 would say, you know, like, hey, sex between a husband and wife. Like, you know, people are asking the Corinthians because sex has been so messed up.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Right, so perverted.
Yeah.
They're like, so is sex even good?
Right, exactly.
You know,
Can
like,
you have good sex with one person?
Right, should we just not even go near sex?
Right.
Because it's been so bad.
Yeah.
He's like, no. Sex is good within a certain context.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And, you know, God gives us marriage as a context for sex.
That's right.
And it's meant to be a place that's safe and committed and sweet. And so we had that. And I'm like, man, I don't want to lose that. That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
How am I going to go to those dark places? Because, Tim, my places were so dark. My regular reoccurring dream was that I was at the bottom of a well, locked in a cage.
Lord have mercy.
That was my regular picture of my childhood.
Wow.
You know, and I'm like, and I don't know how to get out.
Yeah.
And then started feeling God started opening the cage door, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to get out.
Right.
Now this familiar.
That part.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Out there scary.
Out there
and
scary.
unknown.
And unknown. I know this.
Yeah.
I know this house.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
So, but 1 Corinthians 7 says, you know, that the wife's body belongs to her husband. The husband's body belongs to the wife.
Yeah.
Like this is, and sex is for mutual pleasure.
That's right.
Mutual delight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I was working through the worst of it and we were making love and I'd get triggered, we just learned like I could tap out.
Yeah.
Right? I'm tapping out. And he knew that meant I was triggered.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I wasn't making love to my husband. I was being sexually assaulted by some, you know.
Yep.
And so he'd just hold me and pray over me. And man, you know, for somebody who's been so sexually traumatized, to have a man like, hey, you know what? At this moment, and I'll be really blunt here.
I'm fine with
right?
it. This is that part.
I'm in the middle of a fabulous erection and enjoying
absolutely.
what's about to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Literally.
Right? Literally. And I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold my wife and I'm going to pray for her.
Yep.
And man,
That's love.
that's love.
That's intimacy.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so, like, oh man, I'm safe with this man.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even if I'm tapping out on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and a lot of times then we could just resume where we left off.
Yeah.
Because I felt so safe
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
loved.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's how I think, you know, God loves to take the darkest parts of our stories
Yep.
and turn them into his story.
Yep.
And so that's what God did. So then later on, you know, my kids are getting older. My 4 boys are like junior high school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I am ready to start part 2 of my life.
Yeah.
And so that's when I went.
Huli, can we get Nancy some
Kleenex.
tissue?
I know, I'm just crying like a baby over here.
No, it's
Thank you.
this
Thank you.
is it's so good.
And you know me, I'll just cry. I mean,
I
like
know,
you cry into your beard. you
Yeah,
know.
I do.
I-
Everybody tries to hand me tissue at
I
our
know.
process group therapy, and I'm like, I'm watering my beard with
I
my
know.
tears.
I'm like, I right now I need a woman beard.
No, you don't. You really don't right now
Thank
need
you.
that. I promise you, you don't.
Oh my gosh. So, anyway, you know, God just brought so much healing into my life.
Yeah.
And then I believe he called me into becoming a therapist. So that's how I got into that field. And then my office started filling up. Like, let's say I had 8 clients one day.
Yeah.
7 of the 8 would have sexual trauma.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. But probably because I was one of those therapists who'd say, hey, tell me about the sexual part of your life. And so maybe people had been to 3, 4, 5 other therapists, but nobody had ever asked them.
You invited them into that
I did,
conversation.
because I'm
yeah.
like, man,
We all know.
the sexual part of your life is a huge part of your history.
It is.
And if we don't deal with that,
Yeah.
we're like leaving out a huge piece of the puzzle here.
Absolutely correct.
And my job as a therapist, like, let's start putting together the pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So, yeah, like men, women start unfolding their sexual stories. And so I remember at the end of a long day, just sitting on my sofa going, Lord, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you calling me to this work?
Yeah.
And so I felt like the Lord said yes. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, if we're going to do this, you know, pretty much my guiding principle with humans is to cause no harm.
Mhm.
You know, may I not mess you up more than when you came in.
Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
may I not be a contributing factor
Right. Right.
to jacking you up. Right? You
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
May I be helpful, not harmful.
Yeah.
So that's why I went and was trained in sex therapy.
You are a rare jewel, Nancy Houston. O-M-G-Z.
Mhm.
Okay. One of the most redemptive things that I think any person can do
Yeah.
is to be brave enough to go back and confront their past.
Yeah.
Because it is a confrontation.
Ooh.
You're not visiting it.
No. No. You're in it, man.
You're in it.
You live it.
Yeah, you live it, right?
You
You feel it,
Oh,
right? It is
you feel
to
it.
to go back and confront your past and
Yeah.
do that work. I'll never forget. I have this searing image in my head after Hurricane Katrina.
Mhm.
I'm watching the news, and this is several weeks or months later, because in some of the parishes they wouldn't let people back in there,
Oh.
and obviously there is a New Orleans diaspora, right, of people that left New Orleans and never went back.
Oh, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just remember watching this news segment, and it's seared in my head, Nancy. Like I'll never forget this as long as I live. They started allowing the citizens of these parishes to start going back into their communities.
Yeah.
their homes are gone.
Oh, can you imagine?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Okay, like it's a plot of land and like a smushed, like the roof is on the ground,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
the house is gone,
Gone.
right? And so this news reporter who's just trying to get her segment done, right?
Yeah.
It's and hella insensitive. Like there's no sensitivity at all. There's no empathy. There's just like, we're with one of the people. Ma'am, is this your house?
Oh my gosh.
And yes, it is. And
Mm.
how are you going to even, like, are you going to stay or are you going to leave like other people? And she was like, I'm staying. And then she goes, but there's nothing here.
Mm.
She was like, no, there's nothing here. Like, this house, okay, what do you do? My memories are gone.
Oh,
My memories were washed away.
yeah. Yeah.
And then she goes, the news reporter goes, where were you even begin to rebuild?
Mm.
And Nancy, this woman looked down and there was a crumpled up McDonald's cup in her front yard, or what was left of that front yard.
Yeah.
And she picked it up and said, I'll start right here.
Oh my goodness.
And it effed me up. Like I was wiped out.
Ooh,
I
me
was wiped
too.
out.
Wow, Tim. Mm.
Because it was like, I will do what I can control.
Yeah.
I will do what I can, but I'm not leaving this spot. And when you talk about disassociation from the body,
Yeah.
people are too afraid to go back and reclaim themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they are.
Which is why they would not have sex for 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is why they would projectile vomit,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, my defense mechanism is going to stay up, but what I'm not going to do
Yeah.
is go rescue the little girl
Yeah.
or rescue the little boy
Yeah.
and bring them back. Because it's actually it's an emotional extraction.
It is.
When you've been traumatized, to go back and get little you is, you might as well get like a Navy SEAL squad. It's an emotional extraction that you have to go through
It is.
to get yourself out.
Yeah.
And most people, you're the one that actually made this so real for me. You made this statement and it pissed me off. I was so heated because the altruistic side of me and the empathic side of me was like, that can't be right. And you were just like, like in the way you do, like, yeah, Tim, it is. And I was like,
I can be so annoying, can I?
no, it wasn't annoying. It was truthful. And I was just mad at the stat.
Yeah.
I was more mad at the stat than you. But you said something that made me understand humanity in its most dysfunctional, disgusting place.
Yeah.
You said only about 1% of humanity does their soul work.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget when you said that stat, and me being the nerd I am, might as well have put on my little glasses and put my calculator out, because I'm like, 1% of 8 billion is what? It's like 80 million people, right? That's like 4 states in this country, right? Take California, Texas, Florida, and I don't know, Illinois, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever would constitute 80 million people of the 332 million we have in this country. I'm like, that's like 4 states. What the hell? You're telling me only 4
Yeah.
states worth of people are doing their soul work, and the rest of humanity's doing what? And I was like, oh, alcohol,
Yeah.
drugs,
Mm-hmm.
sex,
Yeah.
human trafficking,
Yeah.
sports and entertainment,
Absolutely.
Netflix watched hours.
Yeah.
You name.
Yeah. Work, over involved.
Yeah.
Helicopter parenting.
Eh.
I mean, there's a million different ways.
Video games for
Yeah.
9 hours, right?
Pickleball every day of the week. I mean,
right?
you know.
if I'm not numbing myself, I'm distracting myself.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because if it's quiet for a minute, I might hear little me say,
Help. Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm so deathly afraid of the reminder that they're still trapped that I'll schedule the next golf.
Yeah.
What, you want to go golf tomorrow?
Yeah. Right.
You
Right.
just spent 7.5 hours. Like you did your 5
Yeah.
hours of golf, and then you stayed and ate dinner, and you came home when everybody was asleep, and you just turned on the TV and then fell asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go golfing again tomorrow?
Absolutely. Or shopping or something.
And your 12-year-old daughter hasn't seen you
Yeah.
all week.
Yeah.
Your son's still trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
how to put on his tie.
Yeah.
Like that thing ripped me up on the inside, and it made me understand and have more empathy for people than I ever thought I could imagine. There's no way I could judge them
I know.
because I know the emotional toll of what it takes to go get little you out of there.
It does. It's gut wrenching. I loved your story of this woman. Talk about resiliency. Oh,
That woman.
I love that woman.
Yeah, me too.
And, you know, I've got a little bit of a dog on a bone inside of me. I really do. Like my therapist says, man, you're a dog on a bone. I'm like, I know. You know where I think I got that though? I think I got that from my dad. I think for him to survive
3 sunken ships?
3, yeah, right? Like most of those guys, you'd say, Nancy, maybe 8 of us would make it. I mean, I'm like, dude, you're a resilient.
That's right.
He's a resilient man. So oftentimes I'm like, Lord, thank you.
Yeah,
That was a gift from my daddy.
absolutely.
He made me a
Yeah.
resilient little
Yeah.
sucker.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So just like that woman, though, it's like, man, another gift my dad gave me is I got to watch a man who refused to do his emotional work and deal with his trauma. And what that did to him, his marriage, his children, his law practice. He carried, he carried every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
He'd get death threats.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just known as this badass in town.
Yeah.
It was so funny because, his nickname was SOB, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Micah, Micah, my son, he said, Grandpa, you're still an SOB. But he says, but I've changed what that means. He says, well, Micah, what does it mean? He said, sweet old Bill.
That's awesome.
When he got to be 80, I called him one day and I said, Dad, listen, I have forgiven you, like deep, deep, deep down, not fake forgiveness, because I tried that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have forgiven you because I've grieved everything.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
That's the only way.
You got to grieve.
That's right.
And man, I grieved
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Like bathroom floor. The reason my bathroom floor, because when you have 4 little boys, you don't have any privacy. So
It's very true. Only the bathroom is your
only-
privacy.
you go
right?
in the bathroom, you lock the door, and you get on the floor, and you just bawl your guts out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I just experienced God's grace. And like watched a man who didn't do that work, but then did mine.
Yeah.
And then I felt God challenge me, like, Nancy, now help him do some of his. So, man. I keep going there, don't I? Like, damn, I'm doing therapy on myself today.
Oh my goodness.
So called him and said, hey, Dad, get your wife on the phone. My mom had died when I was 23. So I never really got to know my mom the way I got to know my dad.
Yeah.
Because she's going to have to help you. So for an hour and a half, we stayed on the phone. I'm like, Dad, I have forgiven you. I've grieved. I do believe, now maybe there's more. Maybe I'm probably going to be doing this work as long as I'm on earth, right? Because that's one of the things I had to surrender. That was I love to think of the term tender surrender,
Mm.
you know, where
Mm.
Jesus is like, hey, Nancy.
Mm.
Because when I started therapy, I'm like, okay, I'll go for 6 months and then that's it.
Mm.
It is all going to be fixed. Do you hear me, God? Do you hear me, God? It's all going to be fixed at 6 months. And then I'm like, oh, God, okay, it's 6 months. I'm like, okay, 9 months. But then that's it. You got me, God?
Oh my goodness.
And then at a year, I'm like, okay, you know what, God? I think he's just saying, hey, will you surrender this to me?
Mm.
Because this may be your lifetime, Nancy.
Yeah.
You had so much stuff.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
may just have to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, Lord, I surrender it. And here's my life. And if you need to keep doing this work, you can keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No timelines anymore.
Yeah.
No need for this to be all put in a nice little box with a little ribbon.
Yeah.
Because that's how I wanted it,
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah, for sure.
I want this nice and pretty at some point.
Yeah.
And guess what? Being human is not nice and pretty. It is a freaking mess. It's a bloodbath. And so I called Dad and I said, hey, Dad, I think I've worked through the biggest stuff. And I have forgiven you. And I have grieved. And now I want to have a father-daughter relationship with you.
Mm.
And so you and I talk, but we talk about the weather. We talk about the grandkids.
Mm.
I like to talk about something deep.
Mm.
I like to talk about something real. And you're 80. And we haven't got a lot of time left to do this. Because you lived hard, you drank hard, you smoked hard, you went hard. I can't believe you're still alive at 80, dude. You must have a heck of a body. And so today's the day I want you to forgive you. And he was like, oh, I can't do that. I was a horrible father. I'm like, Dad, yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. You know it, I know it. There's no more secrets here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are not pretending. Because when I first started doing the work, I kind of tried to invite him into it.
Yeah.
And he had just like, I didn't do that. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And one day, I was kind of probably bitching and moaning about that, the Lord. And the Lord just said to me, Nancy, if you had done to your children what he did to you, could you admit it? And I'm like, no. Yeah. I would need my denial. Good Lord, no.
Wow. I would need my denial.
Yes.
That's profound.
And I'm like, I suddenly got it. I'm like,
Ooh, that's profound.
No wonder he can't. God bless him. No wonder he can't go there. So I said, Dad, I want us to be close. And until you can forgive you, we've got this wall of guilt between the two of us. And I want that wall of guilt to come down.
All right, we got to stop. Here's why I need to stop.
Yeah.
Before you say another word. Okay.
Okay.
I have seen, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm expressing this wrong. It sounds like the way I'm trying to say it, I screw the disclaimers.
Yeah.
So you did not let your dad off the hook as he aged.
No.
Like as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, Nancy tracked this nigga down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she's like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait till you slow down.
Yeah.
And then I'm still going to confront you about this. Because most people, when their parents age, are like, that's just the way they are. And what are you going to do? And don't sense them bringing it up now. And they're about to meet Jesus in 3 weeks or whatever, right? And you were like,
right. Yeah. And because there'd been such deep forgiveness inside of me, and it's because, Tim, the way I forgave my dad, I'm not kidding you. I'm like, okay, God, I'm sick and tired of this churchy fake forgiveness crap. It's not working.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how do I forgive? And he goes, well, first of all, you got to hate everything your dad did for the next 6 months. So I just hated it. I hated it.
Most people won't allow themselves to hate.
No, I know. I didn't. I don't think I hated him, but I hated
Yeah.
being sexually abused by him.
Absolutely.
I hated being beaten by him.
That's right.
I hated being demeaned by him.
Yes, absolutely.
I hated being terrified by him.
That's right.
I hated that he was my daddy, but he wasn't safe. I hated that I loved him and he terrified me. Do you know how confusing that is?
Absolutely.
Do you know how terrifying it is to want to, like, I used to sit in my dad's lap and he smoked and he'd blow smoke in my ear and I loved it. Oh my gosh, can you imagine how stinky my hair was? But as a little kid, I loved it because I was close to him and I wanted to be close with him.
Yeah.
You know, as a teenager, he bought a ranch and I would, I'm terribly allergic to grasses, but I'd go bale hay with him all day just to be with him.
Wow.
Because I loved him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm like, dang, I loved you and I hated you. Do you know how confusing that is?
That is
I
wild.
hate you for that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just hated all the things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
I hated that you confused me so bad.
Yeah.
And so I hated fiercely for 6 months. And then I'm like, okay, I've hated. And Tim, I was raised to be nice. I mean, you know, so us nice girls, we don't hate. You don't hate anything. That's rude. You don't get angry. That's inappropriate.
Wow.
So here God is challenging me to go against all my mother's training. You know, you sit like a lady, you act like a lady, you don't get angry about anything, and you please people. And so God's like, no, you hate, and you hate with the same amount of violence that you received. So I had to hate fiercely, right? So I hated, and then at the end of my hating, I said, okay, now what, God? now what?
What's next on the list?
Right, what now?
I have thoroughly hated all of it.
What now?
Yeah.
And God said, Nancy, as long as you're a judge, jury, and executioner, you'll never forgive. And he just said to me, do you realize that you are capable of every sin your father committed? And of course, you know, I'm like, I am not. Right? All self-righteous.
Yeah.
I am not. And God goes, really? Yeah, you might want to think that through.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I sit there with it for a while. I'm like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You know, who knows? If I was raised the way my dad, maybe I would have.
Yeah.
You know,
We don't know.
and drank like he drank.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you can get so drunk you're blacked out and you have no memory.
Absolutely correct.
You know, and I mean, maybe that's when he's beating us kids or sexually abusing.
Yeah.
He was just so drunk he didn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
I really don't doubt it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm like, oh man, so I have to quit being the judge, the jury, and the executioner. So I'm like, okay, Lord, you're right. You're right. Who knows? Maybe I guess I could have done. You're telling me I could have done everything he did. You're right. Okay. So then when I quit, you know, came to terms with that, then I could just like really forgive him. Then forgiveness was easy.
Yeah, for sure.
It was just a natural outflow
Yeah.
from the grief and getting all that anger and sadness and disgust up and out. And so then when he's 80, I kind of like, Dad, dude, I have forgiven you. I need you to forgive you because I want to be close to you. I can't, Nancy, I can't. I'm like, Dad, has Jesus forgiven you or not? Has your sin been cast as far as the east is from the west or not?
Wow.
Is that true or not? Is the word God true for you or not? You know, right?
You ran up on him. You
Yeah.
ran up on homie. Strong.
Right?
I love it.
Right? So we were on the phone for an hour and a half, 2 hours. We're both crying. He's finally like, okay. I'm like, okay, man. You forgive you? And he says, yeah, I forgive you. I said, I need to hear it. And he said, I forgive me. Like, okay. Wow. Yeah. And then guess what after that? Man, we talked about everything. I had a daddy for 3 years before he died. It was so sweet. You're never too old for a daddy. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why I love men. I do. A few months ago, I was in an Uber
Whoa.
with a young black man. And he's the baby daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said to him, hey, man, do you know how valuable you are to your child? Do you know how much you mean to this child? Do you know that your life will change her life if you will be a part of her life?
Mm.
And he was so sweet. He was this darling young man. He just started crying. He goes, really? Nobody's ever told me that. I'm like, yeah, you're way more important than you know.
Facts.
And it's never too late for you to be a daughter, a daddy to your daughter.
That's right.
I said, I got a daddy at 8 when my daddy was 80 and I was 50.
Wow.
And we had the sweetest 3 years together. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's one thing. It's one thing to go get yourself. It's another thing to go get yourself and be so securely integrated that you can go get somebody else.
Yeah. Well, you know me. That's like my favorite thing to do.
Oh.
I love. I'm like, if you're in my group, I'm coming to get you.
Oh, let me tell you something.
I'm coming after you.
Nancy. Well, like I refer to you as an emotional sniper. I do not think it's fair that you have the education and the certifications to be a therapist and the Holy Spirit. That's not fair, except for the fact that it is. And that's the only way I would ever want it. But no, you are one of the most attuned, discerning, Holy Spirit led people I know. Not just like therapists, people. And that combination, when I, I'm with you once a month for 8 hours. And we have a relationship that precedes that.
Yeah.
To see you in that space, the benefit that it's had for me, but then the benefit that I see it have for others, I'm just always shaking my head like this is about to be. When you lock on somebody, when it's not me, I enjoy it. Because I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. When it's me, I'll be like, damn it.
I know. My group's so funny. Some of the men in my group will be like, if I just don't make eye contact with her.
Maybe she'll move on. Psych.
I know.
You're like, tell me about that.
Right.
And then it doesn't help that you have like a phone sex voice anyway. You're a sex therapist that has a phone sex voice.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
So she's like, tell me more.
Tell me more.
And then you do. And then it just helps everybody. Okay, so
I
holy
love that
cow.
because your heart is precious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
My heart was precious enough that, man, I had to blow myself up over and over and over to get to where I needed to go and just stay after it.
Yeah.
And I still do, Tim.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we've got all these trauma triggers, and then we've got all these ways we adapted to our environments.
Can we speak to the lie that there is 6 months or 9 months and then you're fixed?
Oh, please.
Because I've actually had some people like even say to me like, okay, you've been in some form of counseling and or therapy for 25 years. Like, when are you fixed?
That is not the goal.
And my thought is, when does your car never have to go back to the shop?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Like who drives off the lot and is like, I got it with a tank of gas, full of oil, and windshield fluid. I should be able to drive this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
The tires should never need to be rotated. The alignment should never be off. The what do you mean the thread on my tires is wearing thin and I might need new ones? What do you mean the weather has changed and even though I have great tread on this tire, it's not good for snow?
Exactly.
What do you mean I need chains on top of my wheels to navigate Montana?
That's right.
This truck should just work
all the time.
All the time.
So unfair. It is so unfair. When people treat themselves like that,
Yeah.
it is demeaning.
Yeah.
And it is not allowing you the permission to be a human.
Right.
Man, permission given to be human.
Yeah.
Life is hard.
It is.
Life is messy.
Yes.
There are frequent losses.
Yep.
There are frequent disappointments.
You know I've had the frequent losses.
Right? Oh, you've had way too many.
Yeah.
I don't like it one bit.
Yeah.
Makes me mad.
Yeah.
But you're not unique.
No.
In your community.
No, not at all.
In the Black community.
Yeah.
And in other communities.
Yeah.
In inner city communities.
Yeah.
They are now reporting, and we're figuring out that these children who are raised in inner cities have more PTSD than Vietnam vets. Now, as a person who's had PTSD severely, and my husband knew, never walk into a room where Nancy does not know you're walking into, because I had I could be so easily terrified and frightened.
Yeah.
I'd jump out of my own skin.
Yeah.
If my husband walked back into our bathroom
Yeah.
and he doesn't say, "Hey, honey,"
Yeah.
let me know,
Yeah.
I could jump out of my skin too.
Yeah.
Because I lived with so much terror and fright
Yeah.
that it just got wired into my system.
Yeah, for sure.
And man, just this last year, my system has calmed on a whole new level.
Just this last year. Can
Yeah.
we just say that?
Just this last year. And you know how it happened? From a football injury. I know. I had a football injury. I got
What's happening right
Yeah.
now? What are you telling me?
well, I got hit in the back of the hand a year ago with
Oh, that's right.
football,
That's right.
and I had to have surgery. I had
Yep.
5 fractures in my hand and a lot of tissue damage. It was pretty, it is what it is,
Yeah.
right? Then I developed complex regional pain syndrome, which is a neurological disease. So I went to this amazing treatment facility in Idaho that treated my neurobiology.
Mm.
And so it's all about calming your nervous system
Mm-hmm.
and your vagus nerve.
Mm-hmm.
And so now at 67, my system is calmer than it's ever been.
Wow.
Because my system was not wired. My system was wired by trauma
That's right.
and violence
Yeah.
and terror.
Yeah.
So my system just lived on high alert. I don't even know what is so normal for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. Absolutely correct.
And so that's how these kids are being wired.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how people who are being wired in families that aren't safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Communities that aren't safe.
That's right.
I mean, the thing that's different about you and me, I was not safe in my home, but I was safe in my community. You are safer in your home, but not safe in your community.
You're absolutely correct.
And so it's doing its number on both of us.
Absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. You're the one that actually told me and made me aware of environmental trauma.
Yeah.
I had spent so many years with sexual trauma at the forefront
Yeah.
and trying to neutralize the trauma of that. I never even considered environmental trauma,
No.
hood trauma, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, no, that's just the way we grew up, and niggas were getting shot in the street, and
Yeah.
and you know people selling drugs, and
Yeah.
and I had a gun pulled out on me, and like, and I'm saying it just like again, I still keep my strap on me, and I have my gun on me when I go to Sprouts,
Yeah.
and you
Right.
were just like, yeah, so Tim,
I know.
I don't know if you know that you were never supposed to go through that. And I'm like, what? I didn't go through nothing. It's just
Normal.
the hood.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, no, that's never supposed to happen to a
Right.
kid.
You're like me on that day when I first went to therapy. I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
It's
fine.
it's fine.
Yeah, we had the TV on, but we laid on the floor. That way, if there was a drive-by, it just went over our heads. It's not a big deal. We
That's
never sat on the couch.
That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
That's a huge deal.
So
Man.
so I'm yeah, that is that I was not aware of it, and people are usually not, but if I never would have started where I started,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have got to that when I got to it.
No, never.
Cuz when you spot check something, it's like here's how I would describe it. It would be the equivalent of you saying, I'll give you 4 times in your life where you can go to the doctor.
Mm.
You get to pick the 4 times,
Yeah.
but you only get 4 times to go up to 12 months. So just pick when you want to do it. And, well, people would only choose it
Mm-hmm.
when they're in the most incredible amount of pain.
But
Well,
absolutely.
guess what?
What?
You're probably going to be stage 4 at that point.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have a kidney stone the size of a meteor at that point. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you only go when you feel pain, that's not what good medicine practice is for.
Right.
That's not what good holistic medicine is even for.
Yeah.
It's for preventative. So maybe you start going for the trauma, but once you neutralize it, it's not like,
No.
that was 18 months and I feel better.
Yeah.
Thanks, doc.
Yeah.
No, it's like, I need to make sure this is a part of my life now,
Yes. Yes.
because to your point, the seasons do change,
They do.
and
do.
somebody dies, and then there's a transition, and then there's a birth of a child, or there's a loss of a child. The variables are endless.
Yeah.
If that's not something that's a part of your regularly scheduled I was not joking when I said that Nancy's the reason why I haven't killed nobody.
Mm.
I'm not joking.
Mm.
There's no hyperbole involved at all. She's bound by confidentiality, so she won't confirm nor deny what I just said. But I'm telling you, listen to her giggle, because I'm telling you right now, people are alive because of this woman's role in my life. It's not past me. It's like she said, we're capable of doing anything we could judge other people for.
Yeah.
I can't
Yes.
believe they cheated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been the right circumstance,
No.
nor the right scenario, nor the right person for you.
Tim, don't you love it when we can crawl down off of our high horse and like admit I am so freaking human
So,
given the right circumstances?
oh my gosh. Not
But-
by the grace of God.
But by the grace, that's
Yes.
but by the grace of God,
That's exactly right.
I'm capable of everything.
When I say every single thing,
Yeah, we mean all things.
I mean all
Right.
things. I
So-
can do all things.
Yeah, right. Right. You know, something else I was thinking about. You're gonna hopefully know what I'm talking about. Isn't there a passage where Jesus, like, the meaning of it is that Jesus was willing to sell everything to get this field, and the field is you, is your life, your soul. And he's willing to sell everything
Yep.
for the sake of your soul.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what, Jesus? Here's the thing. If you're willing to sell everything, including your life, for
Yep.
the sake of my soul,
Absolutely correct.
then who am I not to attend to what you paid everything to obtain? Right? Like, what good does it do if Jesus gave everything for my soul, but I am like, no, I'm not willing to go there.
That's very sobering.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very
It's been
sobering.
sobering for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Jesus, you did all. And if I'm not willing to participate every day in what you want to do,
Yeah.
you know, like that tender surrender to him.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Lord. Okay, Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, Lord.
Yeah.
You know, because he did it all.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
so if I'm like, no, we're not going there. No, I'm not dealing with that. No, I'm not. No, I'm fine.
You're not fine.
No, we're not fine. But don't you
not
wish we could all stop pretending that we are fine.
That's one of the byproducts we talked about during our live. We talked about self-awareness
Yeah.
and ways that you can become self-aware.
Yeah.
I didn't have any clinical things to throw out there. I just threw out some bootleg
Dude.
stuff. I was like, stand naked in front of a mirror,
Yeah, right.
accept yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm one of the natural byproducts of doing this work
Mm-hmm.
is you become self-aware.
Yeah, you do.
But once you become self-aware yourself, you intrinsically, instinctively, subconsciously
Mm-hmm.
become aware of others.
Yes, you do.
Right?
Yes.
You're attuned to yourself, and that way it's once, okay, I know exactly where I am in this now. Where are you? You can now cater to other people.
You can.
Because you've taken care of self.
You can.
So now you can take care of others. A self-conscious soul can't do that.
Well, it's that whole love others as you love yourself.
That's exactly right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, I remember, like, before I started therapy, I'd look in the mirror and go, okay, God, something's messed up.
Yeah.
Because you say I'm supposed to love others as I love me. I love others, but I hate me. Because I blame me for all the bad things that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, God, I hate me.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be real here.
Yeah.
Like, once in a while, I'd get honest enough, look in the mirror and go, man, I hate me. I don't know how this Christian thing's going to work if I'm supposed to love me, because I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
So for me, I am in this position more often than not, and I know you are as well, probably 25 to 30 times more than even I, where I'm in a room and within minutes, I know where everybody is emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I almost hate to see it because I'm not trying to see it,
Yeah.
but I'm in there and I'm like, oh, you just need a hug.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
You just tried to take all the attention only because you don't want anybody to pay you any attention. You're deflecting.
Yeah.
And you're using your personality
Yeah.
to actually hide you,
Yeah.
right? You're hiding behind your big old personality, you know,
Yeah.
or you're hiding behind your title, or you're hiding behind your position. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I hate that you're over there by yourself.
I know.
It's sad.
Well, you have a shame radar.
I do.
You have a shame radar.
I do.
Because shame, with shame, we either go high and grandiose, like behind our titles, or our money,
Yep.
or our success, or
Yep.
how smart we are,
Yep.
or how brilliant I happen to be.
Yeah, it's really good.
Those are all ways we go grandiose, which is shame.
Yep.
And then there's other ways where we go low. Right? Like, I'm a failure. I'm not worth anything. I can't get it right. I can't get it together. I keep failing. And we get to see both that in our group because that's what humans do.
Right.
Shame causes us to go higher, go low.
Yep.
The mistake we therapists have made, I believe, talking to me, because empathy's high.
Yep.
I have a lot of empathy. As a matter of fact, what I've had to learn how to do, Tim, is how to steward my empathy. I realize, like, because I'm so empathic, I could just spill it out all day and feel everybody. And I had to learn how to rein that in.
Wow.
And so I try to, like, ask people, like, hey, how is your heart today? Instead of me just letting myself feel how they are.
Yeah, it's good.
Because I want to teach them how to talk about where they're at.
Yes, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I've had to learn how to. But shame, we go one up or we go one down.
Yep.
Or you go 5 up and 5 down.
Right, exactly.
Depending on where you're on the scale. And the thing is that, you know, we use the word narcissism a lot in our world, which it's neither good nor bad.
Right.
I think we have to understand that grandiosity is simply a fruit of shame. And what I like to do with myself is, where did my family of origin teach me to go high, and where did they teach me to go low?
That's really good. That's really good.
You know? And so, Tim, I catch myself, I'm like, oh, Nancy, you're going high there. That's called grandiosity, Nancy. Nancy Ann. Like, let's clean that up. Oh, now you're going low. Oh, well, being a woman, it can seem noble to go low, Tim. Oftentimes men go high and women go low. I think some of that's flipped, and now we see women going high and wanting to put men low.
You're right.
I don't think any of it works.
It doesn't.
No.
You ain't fixing nothing.
No. I've been in this in between. You know, where I was raised in a traditional model of marriage and relationships.
Yeah.
And then my dad was extremely what would you call it? Like engulfed in patriarchy.
Yep.
Where a few men at the top benefit, right?
At the expense of everyone else.
At the expense of men, children, women, everybody else, right?
Yep.
But so he would be considered one of those who benefited. You know, white man, educated, makes a lot of money, powerful position, belongs to all the right clubs.
Yep.
He
checked all the boxes.
He had a spot at the top.
For sure.
Right. And so I watched that. Men in that world, men went high, women went low. Have no voice. My mom, what's important to him better darn well be important to her. He creates a kingdom, she keeps it. She keeps the house, the kids, right? The social calendar. Right? So I watch that. And that's how Ron and I aren't into any of that crap from the get-go. We're like, we're not doing I decided 6, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Right.
Yes, you did.
Right. But but in some ways, you know, like he'd be the provider, I'm the caretaker. Then I get into my mid-30s and I do all this work. And then I'm like, now what? I don't want to fit that world anymore. I have a self.
Yes.
I don't have to go high, I don't have to go low, but how do I want to develop myself? So that's when I decided I actually want an education because that's how I'm wired.
Yep.
I actually want a profession because that's how I'm wired.
Yep.
I got to develop myself, but I don't want to develop myself at the exclusion of my husband or children.
That's good.
Right?
Yes, very good.
I don't want to get a voice. So then I can become one of these women who are like, I don't need a man. Women need a man like a goldfish needs a bicycle.
Right.
Right? I don't want to go there either.
Yeah, for sure. You don't have to swing to another extreme.
Which is what we do.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Which is
for sure.
what
with
our
everything.
world does.
Yeah, absolutely.
So women have gone from not having a voice to now we'll show you.
Yeah.
F you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. It's like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
How could we all learn how to use soft power? Which soft power is for the good of me and you. You read us a scripture last week in our group from Samuel. And that's what David said.
Yep.
Man, I loved it when you shared that scripture. I've been reading it all week.
Yeah.
Because David basically said to Saul, his father-in-law was trying to kill him all the time, is narcissistic, grandiose.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
He's saying, I regarded my life.
That's right.
And I'm going to regard your life.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So I think that's where the magic is.
Yeah.
I think that's where the kingdom of God is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the kingdom of God is, how do I hold my life in warm regard and hold your life in warm regard? Wow. When my husband and I, you know, we've loved each other hard enough and fought hard enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we're not loving each other hard, but fighting hard.
Yeah.
How do I hold myself in warm regard and hold him in warm regard?
Yeah.
Because after all, he is the man I love,
Yeah.
even if I don't like him right now.
That part.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Imagine if we had a world where we were more like David,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going to hold my enemies in warm regard,
That's right.
because after all, God made that person.
That's right.
And I'm going to hold me in warm regard.
Absolutely
See,
correct.
I used to know how to hold you in warm regard, but I didn't know how to hold me,
Right. It was at the expense of you.
because I thought I was kind of trash.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been treated like I was trash.
Yeah, for sure.
So I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's been a real journey for me. I'm still on it,
Yeah.
of not just automatically going one down
Yeah.
or not going one up.
Yeah.
Because I think I found some ways to try to go one up too, Tim, to balance a teeter-totter.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And I'm like, man, I want to quit. Do you remember being on a teeter-totter
I do.
and some kid would get on there and bang you up?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you try to get on harder and bang them up?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, what if in my life I'm neither going high nor low, but I'm just staying in that sweet middle spot where I can honor you and honor me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can honor my husband's sexual desires,
Yeah.
and honor mine,
That's absolutely correct.
you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Where I can honor your point of view and listen to it,
Yeah.
and I can honor mine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is what the Bible is trying to teach us when it talks about mutuality.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I've had to model this year.
Mm.
So this resonates with me deeply.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've done my best, not perfectly, but I've done my best this year to hold in high regard people that disagree with me.
I've watched you do it.
Yeah, while I am holding in high regard myself as well.
Tim, you are my role model. I'm watching you. You know, I mean, I love learning from the people in my groups,
Yeah.
because I'm like, it's just like I love learning from my children.
Yeah, for sure.
My children taught me so much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're good teachers.
Oh my gosh.
They're very
And
good teachers.
you're my teacher, right? Like, we're all on level ground.
Yeah.
I might lead this group, but you're teaching me.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching Tim Ross navigate the things you've had to navigate this year. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You are holding that space well.
Thank you.
And it's hard to hold.
It is.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I feel like I'm holding it sometimes when I have a firm grip and somebody comes and squirts baby oil in my hands.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not helping.
No.
You're making it slippery.
Yeah.
You know?
Really slippery, isn't it?
Yeah, because I don't want to go one up or one down or two up or two down or 3, 4, 5, 6. Like
Yeah.
I wanna hold in high regard what you have to say.
Do-
As long as you don't automatically feel entitled to my agreement.
Yes.
You know?
I wonder what you're saying, though, here, Tim, is so more important than we know.
Okay.
I wonder if this is what happens to so many leaders who start well and end poorly because they didn't learn how to navigate the space. So they just started going high every time. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. I know better than you. Get in your place. And you better listen to me, because I'm the man and I know. Or I'm the woman and I know. And then
They keep going up.
And then we can't stand them. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
And they can't stay up there.
No.
They wind up on the 100th floor.
Yeah.
And then they're going to die.
Gonna be a long swan dive from that.
That's...
You know, the top of that tower. It's gonna be a long fall.
a very long fall. And you're not going to survive.
No.
Like, you're not going to be broken. You're going to be destroyed.
Oh, it's so ugly. That's what I love about If we can struggle while somebody's squirting oil in our hand
Mm-hmm.
and we're just struggling
Yeah.
with, Lord, how do I do this?
Yeah.
That's what keeps us humble.
Yes, absolutely.
That not knowing keeps us humble.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I love the not knowing.
Yeah, me too.
Like, God, I have no clue.
Yeah, me either.
I am clueless.
I'm like, I'm out here trying to do what you said. This is oily. This is very, very slick territory.
Oh.
There's very few places to rest your feet, let alone
Yeah.
set them without there's being a little slide.
Oh, completely down.
So that's I'm really encouraged by that.
You know, I think when I think of the reason I love leadership and working in the field of leadership, because I believe leadership is learning how to lead you. Now, I'm not saying you, I mean this you,
Yeah, no, absolutely correct.
me.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I can lead me,
Yes.
good Lord,
Oh my goodness.
because I'm complex. sometimes.
Listen. Complex, incongruent, high, low, up, down, happy, mad, sad, glad, rad,
Mhm.
all the things, right?
All the things.
Like it's a very but this is what gives me personally that idea of self-leadership, Nancy, is what gives me personally the empathy I have for other people.
Oh, me
I
too.
actually said it on our live. I said the first thing I said is that all based on what was forget the story.
Yeah.
Bottom line is one of my responses is that all ultimatums are manipulation.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Boundaries and ultimatums are two different things.
very.
Ultimatums forced you to do something.
That's right.
Boundaries just tell you what you're going to do.
That's right.
I'm going to do something if you do that, but not if you don't do this. Then you know what I mean.
That's right.
And my statement out of frustration was, you can't even control you.
No.
How the hell are you going to control anybody else? You can barely make you do something.
That's
you can
right.
barely stay on a diet.
Yeah.
You can barely get to work on time. You can barely, keep your word to your own freaking kids.
Yeah.
You can barely, it's like, stop.
Yeah. Stop.
You told yourself 14 times this year
Yeah.
that you were going to have a savings account of $3,000 by June.
Mhm.
It's freaking September.
Yeah.
There's $600 in there. But you got like 4 new pair of shoes.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
a new chain.
I like to ask myself every day, Nancy, how are you leading you?
Mm.
And are you showing up? Did you just show up the way you wanted to in that situation? And sometimes, Tim, sometimes my answer is no.
Yeah.
It's no.
Yeah.
But you know what I like to? I've gotten way more gracious for myself.
Yeah.
Because I used to just then beat the crap out of myself
Right.
and just shame myself.
Yep.
You got to do better. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that.
Yep.
Now I'm like, okay, well, you're human. It's okay.
Yep.
How would you like to show up next time?
That's really good.
Like, let's kind of role play this in your head.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
Last week, my hubby was anxious. Couples, you're either in harmony, disharmony, or repair. That's marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to marriage. Harmony, disharmony, repair.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And really simple.
Oh my gosh. So we'd have some sweet, sweet, sweet weeks of harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're in disharmony.
Yeah.
It always sucks. doesn't
Yeah.
it? It's just like, what happened?
Yeah,
man?
yeah, yeah.
Can't we just stay in harmony
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the time?
Yeah, exactly.
The answer is no.
Right.
I think disharmony serves a purpose because you both need to do some growth work.
So good.
And let's face it, none of us do growth work if we're just in sweet harmony.
Yeah, for sure.
We're
That's
just
absolutely correct.
We're just enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
All is well.
Yeah,
And then you hit disharmony. It's
that's
like,
right.
Now what?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, so it was a super good growth week for me. His anxiety brought growth to me.
That's good.
This is what I discovered about me. I'm like, okay, So first, I try to soothe and smooth him. And then when that doesn't work, I go to trying to fix him. And then when that doesn't work, then I'm going to go to control. Oh, it's a lovely little slippery slide down that slope.
Yeah.
Right? So at first I'm like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. And I did that for a few days. And let me hold you.
Yep.
I love you. Let me pray over you.
Yep.
And, and then he's not receiving it.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I'll amp it up.
Yeah. This is a great picture.
This is why so many therapists are divorced.
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. Because, you know what could help him. No. I mean, rule number 1, don't be your spouse's or children's therapist or pastor. Be their wife or their husband or their mommy or their daddy. I mean, stop it. Right? We people helpers can think, oh, I got the answers, so let me help you. It's like, no, stop it. Like, no.
Nancy, you are blowing my mind right now. I never even considered that.
Really?
And I know some therapists that strike 1, strike 2.
Oh, I got in
Strike
this
3.
field and I'm like, why are so many therapists divorced? I mean, I'm not judging. I just was.
No, absolutely curious.
I was just
you just made it make sense to me.
How do
They're
I not,
trying to fix them.
Yeah, how do I not get there, Lord? Because I love my man. I want to be with my man.
Yeah, for sure.
I want us to last. I don't want this career to blow us up. So, but then I went there.
You actually stepped and slid a little bit.
Oh, man. Don't we humans? Regression is part of it.
Yep.
Let me go back. So anyway, and then I'm like, Nancy, you just tried to fix him. Like, honey, you could journal. Honey, you could. I might as well have been saying you should.
Right, exactly.
I just tried to say it a little softer. And so, you know what I love about the work I get to do? Because like Thursday in my group, one of the men in the group's an Enneagram 5. My husband's a 5. He's married to a 7. I'm a 7. And he's talking about their relationship. And I'm like, man, I missed my man. And so at lunch, I went in and closed his office door because he works from our home. Closed the office door, locked the door so we could have a conversation. I said, babe, you are the man I love. I missed you. I got impatient last night. 7s can get impatient. I said, I got impatient, and then I went to fix. I'm so sorry. That is not what you need. You don't need me to soothe or smooth or fix. You are a grown man. You're more than competent of working through your anxieties. And my little adaptive self, Nancy, who spent her childhood trying to soothe and smooth her daddy.
Yep.
She popped up.
Yep, little girl popped up.
That little girl popped up.
Yeah.
See, this is why I think we're always going to be doing this work. Because, Tim, I got some basement children. I got some kids down that basement. You're doing I know this is the basement. But I got kids down in my basement. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were there. Oh, hi. How long have you been down there? Well, I'm getting older. Some might have been down there for a long time. I'm just saying, like 60-some years. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were down there. So one of my little kids popped up. Like, oh, I can soothe and smooth you. I know how to do that. I did that with Daddy. And then when that didn't work, it's like, oh, well, I can fix you. I'm a therapist. I can fix you. I know how to. I'm like, no, as a therapist, you never fix people. That is not what this profession's about. No.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't believe I can fix anybody.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I was trying to fix my husband.
Yeah.
And I'm like, honey, I'm so sorry. Like, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was fragilizing you.
Yeah.
And you are not a fragile man. You are a big, grown-up, competent hunk of a man. And so I'm so sorry. Will you forgive me?
All right, I got this visual that is wrecking me right now, based on what you just said about these basement kids.
Yeah.
So the visual that's come back in like full detail is the vision of how the basement came to be in the first place. That there's a 100th floor,
Uh-huh.
and then there's this basement,
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
And so in the basement is where like everybody was their real, authentic, true self. But what's wild about what the nuance you just brought to this vision is that the people on the 100th floor would be completely disassociated and disintegrated
Yeah.
from the child on the inside of them.
Mhm.
That child is still in the basement.
That child's in the basement, Tim.
And you have to come off of this floor
Yeah, we do.
and go down 101 stories to integrate yourself
Yeah.
with yourself.
With yourself.
You've left a piece of you
Totally.
to go reach this
Yeah.
position, this place, this
Yes.
status, this
Yes.
marriage, the car, the house, the
Yeah.
job, the career, the this, the that, the other. And it's like until you integrate yourself again, you will continue to be a disintegrated soul.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've got to come out of that high tower of our mind to go back and get those little kids.
Or else we show up as different people, different places.
We totally do. And then our adaptive
Scary.
child will pop up and learn how to adapt.
Yeah.
And so that might be control, fixing, telling others what to do, how to do it. Because the adaptive child is black and white in its thinking.
Yeah.
It's rigid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not flexible.
Mm-hmm.
It's not adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
It believes it's right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Our wise adult is nuanced and flexible and adaptable and
Mm-hmm.
can listen and believes you've got what it takes inside to make it.
Yep.
And so you don't need me fixing you.
Right.
So, what was sweet is that night I just saw myself taking that little girl in my lap.
Mm.
Because I do this a lot. I practice this. This is
Mhm.
my self-leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I take that little girl in my lap. I put my arms around her and I say, sweet baby girl. So sorry you spent your childhood trying to soothe and smooth your daddy
Mm.
and at times your mother.
Mm.
Protect your brother.
Wow.
Baby girl, that was not your job.
Right.
And so I'm sorry, honey. And I give her empathy.
Yeah.
And I validate that was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And you missed out on just being a little girl.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, honey.
Yeah.
You deserve better than that.
Yeah.
And so now there's a grown-up, wise Nancy. So you can take your sticky little fingers off this driver's wheel. And now the grown-up Nancy is going to drive this bus, and you can go sit in the back and learn how to whistle.
Right. Go do something. Read a comic book.
Right?
Learn a cheer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do the splits.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Do
All the
something.
things that little girls want to be doing.
That's exactly right.
Honey, you can go do that now.
Yeah.
Because grown-up Nancy's now going to drive this bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You taught me how to do that. And I remember the conversation I needed to have with little Timmy.
Mm.
The most prominent picture is me in our backyard behind a yucca tree, sitting down in the dirt with a Playboy magazine,
Yeah.
just thumbing through the pages.
Sure.
And home wasn't safe enough to be seen and heard because of what I had to share, not because my parents didn't love me or anything.
Yeah.
And so to go through the house, to walk through the front door, just to walk out the back door, to the last corner on our property behind a yucca tree and a patch of dirt to sit and hide.
Yes.
It's like I had to go all the way back as adult Timmy through the front door, out the back door, behind the tree, and invite Tim back in the house. You can leave the porn magazine here.
Yeah.
You can come in the house.
Yes.
We are ready to see you. And we are ready to hear you.
Oh, Tim.
And you don't need this anymore to escape to numb you,
Yeah.
to medicate you.
Yeah.
You can share everything you want to share. We're not going to judge you. We're not going to even try to fix you. We just want to hear your story.
Wow.
So it's.
You went and got that little.
I went and got little Timmy.
You went and got that little boy who had experienced sexual trauma. And then, isn't it interesting how then you're using sex to try to soothe you?
Correct.
Sexual images.
Right. Absolutely.
Eroticism.
Yep.
To try to soothe that part.
Right.
That got traumatized and terrorized.
Yeah.
By the same topic.
That's exactly right. Yeah. The opposite of what harms you does not heal you.
No, it doesn't.
I say that all the time to our community. It's a very cheap Band-Aid.
Isn't it, Tim?
It's a very cheap Band-Aid. Like, it doesn't even stick.
No.
It doesn't even have an adhesive to it.
How did it feel for you to go get that little boy who'd been hiding out there behind the tree with porn for so long?
It was actually scary.
Yeah, it is.
It was scary for me because I've talked with you about this. I was deathly afraid that even as an adult, I would just sit down and join them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's pretty. Let's look.
Yeah. Let's just sit down and enjoy this. You know, I'll sit back here with you. I don't even know if as an adult, if I'm safe enough to be seen and heard, you know.
Yeah. Am I at a place as an adult that I can lead you?
That's exactly right.
So you'd done a lot of work to get to that place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you felt safe enough as adult Tim to go get that little Timmy.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So I remember one of the, this is a very small statement that Paul makes, and it bothered me to no end. When I tell you it bothered me, I was mad at Paul for writing it. I thought, how the audacity that you even think you could write something like this. But what it did is it triggered me. And here's the statement. Yeah. Follow me as I follow Christ.
Oh, follow me as I follow Christ.
That statement triggered me because I literally thought to myself, how is this guy going to presume that if you follow him, you'll get to Jesus? Nobody. That's some type of, I don't know if that's certainty or confidence. I think that's pride. Like, who do you think you are, Paul? But what the big trigger was, I didn't think I could lead me out. So if I can't tell little Timmy to follow me, because I don't know if I'm safe for him to follow.
Yeah.
How could I ever tell anybody else? So it took a long time to integrate to where I felt that Timmy would be safe enough that I said, come over here with me.
Oh, Tim.
That we could go in the house and we're going to sit down. And I'm going to let you talk and I'm just going to listen. Because that's what you need. You don't need images. You don't need masturbation. You don't need ejaculation. You don't need the dopamine hit that comes with that. You don't need sex with anybody else. You actually just need to talk and be heard and not try to be fixed.
And be held.
And be held.
You are willing to hold that little boy at last.
That's right.
Man, Tim.
Yeah.
That, makes my heart so happy. 'Cause I love that little Timmy and you.
I do too.
And he had been waiting for
Oh,
you.
yeah.
You know, a
Yeah.
lot of times, Tim, well, let me put it in a question. Do you think most of us spend most of our lives thinking the answers are outside of ourselves?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's why we go search everywhere,
everywhere.
right? We go take every test and we do every little new personality thing that comes out. And I love those things because they give you
Yeah.
information,
They give you some
insight, but
Yep.
everybody's right. They go get, new year, new you, right? And they'll go change their color of their hair. They'll change the style of it. They'll drop 40 pounds. They'll buy new clothes. They'll
Right.
get new frames,
Yeah.
right? They'll
Yeah.
paint their nails. They'll,
That's why I stopped doing goal setting in our group. Instead, right? You notice that. We used to do, our stretch goals. Every
I
year.
remember those.
Our stretch goals.
Those are, they're gone. I
They're
didn't even
gone.
notice you just stopped doing it.
The reason I stopped doing them is because I wanted us to start sitting with, what do you want? What do you want?
That's good.
And what are you doing, not doing
Yeah.
to get what you want?
That's the work we've been doing for the last 2 years.
Yeah. And look at you.
Yeah.
You sat with that. You sat with it because it's scary. To sit.
Oh, yeah.
The reason we don't like to talk about desire in the Christian community,
Yeah.
because we're too scared to sit with it.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. It is so true. That's so good.
I wrote in that little book, Then God Made a Woman,
Mm-hmm.
that desire is owning the want. I was talking about sex,
Yeah, for sure.
but I think that applies to all of our life.
Yep.
What do you want?
Yeah.
And how are you sabotaging yourself? And you know what I've watched you do in the last 2 years? I watched you sit with what you want.
Yes, you did.
And I've watched you make a lot of big changes.
Yes, I have.
And look at you, what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Like you brought together your abilities and capacities. I think now you're rapping at the start of your show. And I'm like, did you write that? That was freaking brilliant. Now you're doing these things where they were desires, but you had no outlet for them.
I had zero outlet for it. It was never going to happen with me
No.
being a pastor. Ever.
But you sat with your desires.
Yep.
And you worked through your biggest fears.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember
Yes.
the day you did it.
Uh-huh.
When you got there, you gripped your chest.
Yeah.
Because you were feeling it in your whole body.
Yeah.
This is my big assumption.
Yep. Yep.
And then you worked through your big assumption.
That's right.
And then I watched you.
Yeah.
Now you're able to really hone in on your desires.
Absolutely.
Desires don't have to be so scary, but we make them. Why are we so afraid?
I think when it comes to desire, I think there's a lot of guilt and shame around desire.
I do too.
And I think for myself, I would say that the shame around my desire was I'm undeserving of them.
Yes.
Like to even utter it would be blasphemous.
Yeah.
Because I'm self-aware and you know everything about me. And so between the two of us, it would be disrespectful to even bring this up. To even verbalize this would be audacious.
Yeah.
And the height of hubris.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But working through that, that goes down to, giving away my Maxima and buying a Tesla, right? I would have never, I had a inner vow that would not let me buy a $100,000 car.
Aren't we funny?
Yeah.
You and I were working through that
Uh-huh.
about the same time.
Yes, we were. Absolutely.
We both bought cars.
That's
around the
exactly
same
right.
time.
That's exactly right.
And I think I fought with God about it for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then after I bought it,
Yeah.
I fought with him for 6 more months about it. And I'm like, okay, but I think he finally accomplished what he wanted to accomplish in
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But it was a battle
It was a battle.
because we can feel so unworthy
Yeah, that's right.
that it's okay
Yeah.
to desire and it's okay to pursue our desires.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to like sex,
Yeah.
I think we can be so afraid.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, if I pursue my desires, I'm going to have sex with everybody. It's like, no, you won't.
No.
Like, stop. Stop. We get these wild ideas.
Yeah.
We don't even know how to think about desire in a godly way.
Yeah. Well, I've seen and talked to so many men and women who my statement that I always make is whatever doesn't come up and out of your mouth through words will come up and out of your body through actions.
Oh boy, will it ever.
Right? And I talk to these men and these women who feel unfulfilled sexually
Yes.
within the confines of their marriage,
Mm.
but will jump in the arms of a stranger
Yes.
and be a complete freak.
Yes.
And it's like, what lie did you believe that made you feel like you can't bring that home,
Yes.
or that you couldn't have that?
with the person you love and
Yeah.
you're committed to.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a fear of rejection,
Totally.
right? So I make an assumption
Yes.
about what you would or would not do, and that's how I wind up, wearing leather chaps and
Right.
I don't know, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I got a whip in my hand
Right.
with some dominatrix,
Yes.
at 2:00 in the morning,
Right.
telling you that I'm working late.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Do you think that's why? I mean, the Bible is so exquisitely brilliant.
mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard for us to to comprehend the depths of it.
Yeah,
But
for
do
sure.
do you think that's why God was inviting married couples to be naked and unashamed?
Oh, absolutely correct.
Like if I'm being naked with my husband, I mean, figuratively, literally, all the
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Like, it's like, wouldn't it be like, hey, I'm going to be vulnerable enough with you
Yeah,
to share
yeah.
maybe some fantasies, some desires.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, or are we too self-protected?
Oh, we're absolutely self-protected, and we are protecting. What are we protecting most? We're protecting ourselves from rejection.
There we go.
And so the thought of even communicating desire,
Yeah.
right? And what would be pleasurable or what I would like to do
Yeah.
is so paralyzing that the alternative is I'll just do it with someone else, which is the whole thing's a fabricated lie,
Oh, it is. And
right?
Yeah, and then I have so much ache for people who like that, because then I know, oh man, I don't know how long an orgasm lasts. Maybe it's different for everybody, but let's say tops 30 seconds.
Yeah, for sure.
okay.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that.
right? Maybe
You could die and go to heaven in 30 seconds.
I know, right? Maybe it's 5 seconds. I don't know. I don't have my watch going. But I'm like, man, and then you're gonna have this guilt and shame and remorse, and now there's gonna be secrets between you and your spouse. And
Yeah,
you're not gonna be able to look them in the eye, and you're gonna quit being honest, and you're gonna withdraw more and more, and then this other thing will look more appealing.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, it's such a slippery slope.
yeah.
Just breaks my heart.
It does.
It does.
It does.
I don't have any judgments.
No.
I'm just like, man, that's
Do the harder thing.
boy. Wouldn't it be great if we could learn how to do
Do the harder
the
thing.
harder thing and have
Yeah.
hard conversations with
Yeah.
our people, our
Absolutely.
spouse. Yeah.
I've sat down with people and just told them, okay, say exactly what you desire.
Yeah.
Express your desire.
Yeah.
You're not responsible whether or not your spouse wants to collaborate with you on that.
Yeah. No.
But vulnerability says you have to tell your spouse
Yeah, you do.
what your desire is.
Yeah.
And you know, if a man's ways please the Lord, you know, God will give them the desires of their heart.
Yes.
So I'm a very simple, basic person.
Me too.
I'm really basic.
Me too.
When a man's ways please the Lord, okay, thank you, Lord. I then conclude, if that's true of God, I wonder how much of that is true of Jew.
Yeah, right.
Right? I think Juliet is, let me see if I can please her.
Mm.
And if I can please her, she might give me the desires of my heart.
Yeah, she
right?
might. Yes.
And does. I need that to go on record.
Yeah.
And does.
Yes.
So
Yes.
but it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Because so much of my sexual trauma and then the way I learned about sex and sexuality was just a lie. So when you've been taught by a lie, you learn the lie, and then you ask for the lie.
Well, it's the only menu you've read off of.
That's absolutely correct.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, if chicken nuggets is the only thing on the menu.
Then you're going to order chicken nuggets. So
very true.
it just saddens me that we don't. I appreciate that you have honest conversations
Yeah.
about human sexuality.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, whether you're preaching or here.
Yeah.
Or that you do that on a regular basis. I'm so grateful for that.
Well, I'm grateful you do it too.
Oh, thank
Because without normalizing the conversation,
Yeah.
first of all, people are too afraid to have it,
they are.
period.
Yeah.
Even when it's normalized.
Yeah.
Like you normalize it and people are still like I'm not going to disclose the place. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't disclose where this happened.
Yeah.
What I will disclose is a person had to talk about sex and sexuality, and they had to say the word vagina.
Yes.
They're leading up to the word, and their voice is getting shaky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Leading up to the word, and I'm like, what about the word vagina?
I know.
Causes so much anxiety.
I know. It's a body part like your nose or your ears. I mean, it's a body part.
It's a body part.
It's a body part.
Before me calling Jesus a stripper and me saying strong words that people refer to as curse words, which are actually cuss words, right? Before all that, do you know what they were mad at me about? Because they've always been mad at the peanut gallery, or however you want to, whatever we want to call them. They've always been mad about something,
The peanut gallery always is.
right?
They don't have the courage to get on the field.
Shondo, thank you.
I've been watching Coach Prime.
Yes.
Oh my word. I have so much respect for that man. Like he's one of my new role models. I'm like, dude. And the football players?
Yes.
Oh my God. And their mental toughness.
Yes.
Their mental resiliency.
Yeah.
And they'll say, I just need to get my head right.
That's right.
Do you know how rare that is?
That's right.
We spend most of the people in our world, including,
Yeah.
this is our capacity.
Yeah, for sure.
Just say, if you'd get your head right, my head would be just fine.
Wow.
Right?
Right. It's very true.
And yet Coach Prime is like, oh, no. That is not how we're thinking.
That's exactly
You
right.
got to get you right.
That's exactly right. You are not responsible for anybody else.
Tim. I love that man.
It's a game changer.
I wish I could just go be their team therapist just so I could be around him. He's amazing.
No, he is amazing.
Okay, sorry.
He's a
I
good
just
man.
sidetracked us.
No,
Go-
no. It's all good. It's
Do you
all good.
remember where we were?
Yeah. So you're. I think I do. Where was
Sorry.
I thought. Do you remember?
Yeah. The peanut gallery.
Peanut gallery. Okay.
Won't get on the
Yeah,
field.
they won't get on the field. Do you know
Yeah.
what they were mad about?
What?
Before stripping, before strong language,
What?
clitoris.
You're kidding me.
They were mad about clitoris.
Oh, I am all about the clitoris.
I am too.
I'm all about cliteracy.
I am all about clitoracy too.
To me, cliteracy is as important as literacy.
I am a literal clitoralist.
There you go.
I don't even know if I made
There
that.
we go.
Yeah, but whatever it is, I am that.
I'm like, if your kids, You want your kids to know how to read, don't we all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they better be informed.
Yeah, they need to be. So I literally, and literally, it was. Here's what was interesting.
Yeah.
I was talking as a man
Mm-hmm.
to men
Yeah.
about pleasuring their wives.
Yeah. Yeah.
The largest group of people responding in anger
Yeah.
were women.
Interesting.
And I thought to myself, maybe your clitoris hasn't been touched.
Well, that is so interesting. Well, you know what? Maybe not.
I just thought to myself, why would you be mad?
Yeah.
I'm trying to,
Yeah.
especially if you're married, I'm actually trying to help you out.
Well,
I'm talking to men.
I think it goes deeper.
Please help.
I think there's some belief system that women have had so pounded into them.
Mm.
Sexual pleasure is not for you.
That is a aha moment for me right now. We have aha moments at the end of the day after every process group therapy. So I'm getting my aha moment right now with Nancy.
Yeah. It's not.
That's what it is.
It's not for you. So don't you tell me that God gave me a body part that's only purpose is for pleasure. Don't you dare tell me that.
They literally felt like I was objectifying them.
That's right. And it's like, no. Tim was not objectifying you. Tim is trying to give you hope that God and his gorgeous, spectacular design of female. I wrote a whole
Because it is gorgeous and spectacular.
I wrote a whole
Child,
little book
please.
on this because I'm like, we got to learn how to celebrate female sexuality.
You better. I will.
Because, well, here's the thing. If a woman will allow and help her husband figure out how she's pleasured sexually, then she will please him.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be so pleased, she'll please him.
Listen.
And she'll be so pleased, her pleasure will please him.
I bet you.
I mean, it's like double the pleasure, double the fun.
Absolutely. Double mint gum.
Yeah. It's true. And the clitoris is amazing.
It is.
I mean,
such
it's
a
like this
happy
whole
spot.
wishbone. It's
It
like
is.
it's the vulva area.
It is.
And if women think like only 30% of females orgasm from intercourse.
Right. Correct.
And probably the reason they're orgasming during intercourse because they figured out how to stimulate their clitoris while they're having intercourse. You know.
Yep.
Either pressing against his body
Right.
or using his hand, her hand, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so they figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so women can think, I don't even like intercourse. I'm like, that's because your clitoris has not been aroused.
Right.
The clitoris is the mirror image to the male penis.
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
And so it equally gets engorged.
Right.
It gets erect, just like a male penis
Yep.
does. Now, it can be hard to find.
Yeah.
So that's why females have to figure out, well, where is it?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to remember, my man is not inside of my body. So now I have to teach him, communicate to him,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to do that in verbal and nonverbal ways.
Yep.
Teaching him how to bring you pleasure. And he's got to be humble enough to be willing to learn
That part.
that part.
You can't walk in like I'm about to. This is not a UFC fight.
No, it's not, bro.
Like all of this, there's so many men that have all of their verbiage and idioms and their colloquialisms around sex are like a fight.
Oh,
I'm about to smash. I'm
Yeah.
about to pound.
yeah,
I'm about to break you off.
Yeah.
I'm about to break your back. I'm
Yeah.
about to,
yeah.
right? Like it's like
Oh,
that
that doesn't-
sounds violent.
That sounds fun.
And I don't want. Who wants that?
But let's face it, if porn is the main educator, porn is violent.
It is.
And so it's teaching men, like, hey, this is what erotic
Yeah.
is violent.
Yeah.
You know, there's some little girls who've seen porn and they're like, it's terrifying. It's violent. I never want to do that. I'm like, honey, that's not what lovemaking is.
Right.
That is violent.
Yeah, it is violent.
And I'm so sad of how porn has traumatized our world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every little boy, every kid, every man who's seen it, every woman who's seen it, it is traumatizing you. It's in some way or another. It may be traumatizing your what could be sweet sex between you and your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's traumatizing your brain. It's taking up your brain space.
Absolutely correct.
Do you know now we have so many young men who are struggling with erectile dysfunction because of porn?
Jeez.
One of the ways to help heal and solve erectile dysfunction is to stop looking at porn.
Wow.
It damages your prefrontal cortex. It can damage the courting center of your brain, the relationship center.
Yes, absolutely correct.
You know? So then we stop pursuing relationships.
Yeah.
You know, what you and I have talked about. You can go to an airport. You and I are people watchers, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
We spend time at airports.
Yeah.
And just watching, I'm like, how come these young men aren't looking at these beautiful young girls that are walking by?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, because it got all filled up on porn masturbation this morning.
That's absolutely correct.
You know, and I'm like, they're not hungry.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you need to be hungry.
Yes.
You need to be hungry because God created you to go, wow, that's a pretty female. Wow, what if I went over and said hi?
Absolutely correct.
What if I introduced myself?
Yeah.
What if I said, hey, do you have time for a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
What if I gave her my phone number?
Yeah, absolutely correct.
What if I pursued something with a real human?
That's exactly right.
That's a lonely life to spend having auto sex,
There,
which means by yourself. You know?
yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
I mean, it's like, what's car sex? I mean, what's auto sex?
There's car sex now? Are people humping cars? Yeah, it's happened a couple times.
Well, that's why I thought maybe I should clarify.
No, I got you. So there is I read this article like maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 5 or 6, but because of 2020, I lose like 2 years.
Me
And so
too.
I don't. So
Yeah.
it could have been 4 years ago. It could have been 6. I can't remember. But Canada had approved a brothel in a town where it was unprecedented because it was the first of its kind. The only thing in the brothel were sex dolls,
Oh,
like the lifelike
yeah. I know.
silicone
Yeah.
flesh dolls.
Wow.
So no human women,
Oh,
just the sex dolls, and then you could pay to come in there and
wow.
spend time with the sex doll.
Yeah. Yeah. Tim, you know what I think it all boils down to? Attachment disorders.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I think that when we come out of our mommy's body, I mean, you know, let's think about this. God could have made us come out of a little egg that mommy sat on
True.
or daddy sat on.
True. Somebody. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but
It's true.
instead, no, we are shaped and formed inside of a body. It's a very intimate experience. I felt intimately connected to my sons before I gave birth to them.
Absolutely correct. Of course you did. Yes, that's right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew them. It took Ron a while to get to know them, but I knew this person because he'd been living in my body for 9 months. Right? And then a child is meant to come out of the womb and be put into mommy's arms and at mommy's breast,
Yes.
because that's what attachment from the get-go, it's very intimate.
Yep.
It's body to body, it's skin to skin.
That's right. That's correct.
It's warm, it's nurturing.
Yeah.
So imagine a baby who's born and mommy's life is so tough, she has no way to figure this out. Or mommy doesn't want this baby.
Mm.
Or
Ooh.
mommy and daddy are in such a horrible place.
Yeah.
That she's like, oh my gosh, I'm bringing a kid into this. Or maybe she's never received warmth.
Right.
Or nurturance. And so she holds that baby in a cold, distant way. Right?
Yeah.
And so we've got all these humans that are starving for warmth
Mm-hmm.
and nurturance and attachment because that is what God made us for.
That's good.
And the enemy comes up with an amazing scheme called porn.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you something that will feel similar. And so then we attach to images. And, you know, porn is always filled with women who look like they want you,
Right. Right.
right? It feels like
Right.
welcoming and warm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get why it's so appealing.
Mm-hmm.
I have no beef there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get why our world is being raised on.
Yeah.
But I'm saddened because God wants so much more for all of us.
Absolutely correct.
And if we didn't get attachment in childhood, like some of mine was disrupted.
Yeah.
When my dad was acting out, my mom was not available.
Yeah.
Nor was she warm.
Yeah.
She could be cold.
Yeah.
And so it's like this marriage is now a second opportunity for me and for my husband
Yeah.
to learn when we're triggered, how do we not withdraw from each other?
Right. Right. That's right.
When we're, you know, fight, flight, freeze, or fold, how do we calm our brains down
Yeah.
and reconnect?
Yeah.
And re-solidify attachment. And honestly, a husband and wife making love is a way to reaffirm and renegotiate that attachment over and over and over and over.
That's exactly right. It's the glue.
It's the glue, Tim, isn't it?
Okay.
What you and I were talking about, like to talk about, the glue. It's a glue.
It's glue. Sex is glue.
Sex is glue.
And it's good glue.
That's why I'm so pro married sex.
Me too.
I want all married couples having sex on a relatively regular basis
Mm-hmm.
because it can be about restoring attachment over and over and over. What were you going to say, buddy?
The Holy Spirit brought this back to my
Oh, good.
memory.
I love it.
And I have very few locked notes
Mm-hmm.
in my phone.
Yeah.
Okay. But this one was locked.
Mm-hmm.
And December 11th, 2019
Mm-hmm.
at 1:47 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Conversation with Nancy, 12:10.
Wow, there it is.
I flashed it real quick so y'all wouldn't try to pause it and then try to read what I put on here.
Nobody do that.
Yes, they would. I have abandonment and attachment issues.
Mm-hmm.
Abandonment equals will you leave me?
Mm-hmm.
Attachment equals can I connect to with you? My conversation with you on December 10th, it was a phone call. It was not in person. December 10th of 2019, you put like a final piece to the puzzle on the journey I have been going on for a long time, trying to figure out my sexual brokenness to those feelings. I didn't have words for it
Mm-hmm.
until you said it. You were like, your core trauma is attachment and abandonment, and this is what made pornography the perfect storm for you.
Yeah.
Because it answers both, even though they're lies.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a false sense of attachment,
Yeah.
and it gives you a false sense of security.
Mm-hmm.
It's always there.
Yeah.
It's always available.
It's not gonna leave you.
It's never going to leave.
Yeah.
The video clip is always there.
always
The image is always there.
Yes.
And it was like this huge, like,
Mhm.
that's what that is.
Yeah.
It was such a breakthrough for me.
Yeah.
Because to have language is to have freedom.
Mm-hmm. Amen. I love language.
Psalm 90,
Yes.
Psalm 94, Psalm 94:17, King James. Unless the Lord had been my help, my soul would have dwelt in silence.
Oh,
A soul that cannot cry out dies.
it's true. That's beautiful, Tim.
And so if you only have feelings but never have words,
Yeah.
you're going to die
Yeah,
because you're
are.
trapped in your feelings.
Yeah.
You need words to heal.
Yes, you do.
Your brain needs words
Mm.
to heal, not feelings.
Mm-mm.
It needs words.
It does. It needs language.
It needs language.
Language rules the world, right, Tim?
It does
Yeah.
rule the world.
Yeah, it does.
That's why I'm trying to learn at least a second one. Like, because language does actually rule the world. So
You're sort of a language master, a guru. I text you the other day. I'm like, dang, you have all the words.
that was a great text exchange, though.
And
It gave me so much.
we had such a great text
Yeah,
exchange.
that was great.
We're just trying to figure out together, what does Scripture really say here?
Absolutely. We wrestled it down, too.
We wrestled it down.
At least for us.
And that was my last statement. It's like, dude, you have all the words. I was kind of jealous. I mean, you're just like, Tim, you got all the words. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what the word is.
I love words.
Yeah,
And I
me
always have my
too.
dictionary up. Anytime my boys ask me, Daddy, what does this word mean? I always take them to the dictionary. I never just go, oh, I know what the word means and rattle it off. I'm like, let's go read it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why Scripture says, like, I love the idea of, we've used the word submit a lot with women. But reading it in another translation, it says, women, like, be sensitive to your husbands and be tenderly devoted to him. And I'm like,
what a better way.
a better word.
Because submit is just loaded and makes people freeze up at this point, right?
It's been like, what do you call that, whack-a-mole?
Yeah.
If a woman says anything, we get out the hammer and submit, and that'll solve everything,
I watched a clip. It kind of went viral. For some reason, it wound up on my feed, and they were going over the officiant was performing a wedding. He's doing the vows, and he says, the woman's doing the vows, and he says, obey him. And she stops and looks at him, and she's like, I don't remember us talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, we talked about this is in the middle of our wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, we did talk about this, and we talked about this in your counseling. She was like, oh, I don't remember all that. And then he was like, should we just move on? And she was like, yeah, let's just move on. And I thought to myself, first of all, it was pretty ratchet.
Yeah.
But secondly, it was just like, if you knew the power of what was being asked, that word, and maybe that word needs to be nuanced and changed in the same way submit is, so that you don't lose the power. It's a cheat code.
Yeah.
Obedience is a cheat code. Right?
It totally is, Tim.
Right? Like it's not meant to be used as
a hammer. Yeah.
And used as control and used as you don't have speak up rights and you have no authority. And doesn't mean any of that. But if that's not explained,
I know,
then the beauty is robbed. The essence of it is
that's
just
why I
tainted.
like this version said tenderly devoted. And I'm like, when you think about being tenderly devoted to your spouse, it just implies like these loyalties.
Mm-hmm.
It implies these priorities.
Yeah.
It implies that I will, because I'm tenderly devoted to my man, I will have honest conversations with him. I will, really look at how am I making room for him?
Yeah.
Where am I going high or low with him instead of just loving him?
Yeah.
It just changes everything.
It does.
It does. I call it relational bravery. Right? Where it takes a lot of courage to be tenderly devoted.
Mm-hmm.
It means I'm not going to let my heart get hard.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be harsh with him or myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay with him in this.
Yep.
And we will figure it out.
Yeah, we will. That's Juliet and I. We
Yeah.
will figure it out.
Yeah, we will.
We will figure it out.
Yeah. Somebody asked us recently, so what's the key to almost 50 years of marriage? I'm like, we always find our way back to each other. You know, and that's what we just keep practicing.
That's so honest.
Yeah, right.
It's not like we hold hands and take a walk every night
No.
at 6 p.m.
No.
Because no, we didn't. Not raising 4 kids in our 20s.
You can take a walk holding hands and be royally pissed with each other.
Oh, my goodness.
So, you know, Tim, that's the thing. I get so tired of like leadership's about doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's about this inner work
That's right.
of you learning how to lead your basement children.
That's exactly. Girl, you have no idea the type of language you've given me today.
If you can lead all them basement children, you can lead. Right? And same with marriage. It's not that we go for a walk or we have sex on Thursday nights. It's like, stop. Just stop. Everybody stop. It's about that we've kept turning towards each other for 50 years.
Can I just say, and this is no shade on anybody that has to calendar their sex.
I know. No, it's not, right?
No shade
No
at
shade.
all.
No.
But God forbid I ever have to just have on the calendar sex with Juliet on Thursday night.
I know. We never have because we agreed at the beginning of our married life, we will keep sex on the front burner.
Amen.
And so we will keep this a priority. So that means we show up for each other,
Absolutely correct.
you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And so now I've worked with couples where they didn't.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you guys, we need to start scheduling sex.
Oh, absolutely. I've done that as well.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you got to start making this part of your
Yeah,
lives.
you got to get it into a rhythm.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they had no rhythm.
Right, absolutely.
You know, feel the rhythm, feel the heat. And there's a song.
there is a song that says that.
Sorry.
The next thing I was about to say on top
Yes.
of that, though, which I think Feel the Rhythm, Feel the Heat actually is appropriate for is, and I'm so sorry to go back to this,
Yeah.
but just don't make it a clip. That way I don't get in trouble.
Right.
If a husband finds his wife's clitoris,
Yeah.
I doubt he'll have to worry about a calendar.
No.
She'll be like, you come here,
Yes.
right? Since you know where it is now,
Yes.
come here now, right? Like,
Well, and oftentimes females start in sexual neutrality. You know, after she's had a couple kids or been with them for, you know,
yeah.
women kind of slip into sexual neutrality, you know. And so as he starts even kissing her, he's got more dopamine in his system. So his dopamine starts calming her brain. And then as he caresses her and starts touching her clitoris, then she can move from first, second, third, fourth gear pretty quickly.
Yep.
You know, or maybe not, maybe slowly,
Yeah.
depending on where her head is at.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and so I think so much of sex is really about what is going on in our brain. And if I, as a woman, am like, oh, I don't deserve pleasure.
That's the aha. I'm telling you, that's the aha.
I'm just here.
It makes so much sense to their responses.
It does.
It makes so much sense now.
Yeah. And if it's like, no, it's my duty to give him sex. I got to give him sex every now and then. Ugh, you know, right?
Yeah.
then, you know, her mentality is like, I come to bed like, dude, give me some pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know that gives him pleasure.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just so mutual and so sweet.
Yeah.
But it's a mentality.
It is a mentality.
It's a mentality that, you know, we got to develop, that I am worthy of experiencing pleasure
Yeah.
in my body.
Yeah.
And my body is good. It's not betraying me.
Right.
So sometimes when people have sexual trauma, their bodies may have responded to touch
Yeah.
because we've got automatic sexual nervous systems. Our bodies will respond to sexual stimuli, whether it's good or bad or indifferent.
Point blank period.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can be reading some nasty old story that's gross.
Yeah.
But if it's sexual, your body can still arouse.
Absolutely correct.
Be aroused.
Yeah.
So you're just normal. So let
That's all
yourself,
it means.
That's all it means.
Yeah,
Just go,
absolutely.
oh, I'm normal. Everything's working good.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you saying that makes me think about, we talk to a lot of men who are single,
Yeah.
some who are not even believers, and they're like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like not be
Yeah.
having sex with all these women.
Oh, yeah.
And how do you deal with that? And there's no way a man can stay faithful and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I tell him, I'm like, I can be out and about. Attraction is not planned, right? You don't plan to be attracted to somebody.
No.
But if I'm attracted to somebody, if I see a woman and she's attractive, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
amen. Like, I
Yeah.
always bless God for her parents.
Yeah.
Like, they did a good one right there. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
That collaboration made
Yeah.
a good human being right
Yeah.
there. Praise God, right?
Right.
And then it makes me hungry
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I have a sexual appetite.
Yeah.
So it makes me hungry, and my next thought is, I can't wait to get home so I can eat.
Yeah. Be home with your wife.
Yeah, like it's not like
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm out here, and therefore because I'm attracted to this person, I must want to have sex with that person and this person. It's like, no, I got food at home,
Yeah.
and when I get home, I'm gonna eat really good.
Ron, I had a pastor. He's dead and gone now, but he used to say, "And why would I trade in? Let me see, my very fine Cadillac in my garage for some, a few seconds spin in somebody's Volkswagen, or something like that."
Yeah, for
Right?
sure. Yeah, that's what it is.
It's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I've got a fine wine at
A
home,
very fine.
right? And I'll just,
Fine.
yes, I'm feeling attraction.
Yeah,
But
that means I'm normal.
Where do we get
I'm alive. I'm
where
human.
do we get the idea that we've got to have sex with everything that's attractive? That's a dumb idea.
Then I guess people would be humping mountains, lakes,
I guess so. Would just
cute koala bears.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it'd be out of. I mean,
It's
right?
out of control.
It's out of control.
It gets out of control
And
quick.
it's just dumb thinking.
It is very well. It's dumb, and it's very base nature, primitive,
Yeah.
caveman
And you know
thinking.
what? I'm sorry that the world has told some men that that's all they are. That is not.
It's not.
No.
Can you imagine just trying to live up to that performance standard?
No, you are not.
Ugh.
You are not a performer.
No.
I sometimes have to remind my husband of that because there's so much performance commercials on TV.
Yeah.
For how to have better, harder, longer erections. And I'm just like, honey,
Yeah.
you're a human.
Yeah.
And I love you.
Yeah. For sure.
You're not a performer.
Yeah.
So you men, none of you are performers. And none of you are animals.
Mm.
You are beautiful men made in God's image and his likeness. And that is who you are.
I love it. Okay, Nancy, you're gonna have to come back, and then we'll talk about all things relationships.
Okay. We mixed some stuff in.
But
didn't
we mixed it in.
we
But
did.
we'll do laps around the pool the next time.
Okay.
I know y'all want her back. I'm telling you now, you got to come back because it's just you being here is it's a little kiss of heaven to have you here.
Wow.
Like and I'm grateful for you all to meet her because a lot of who I am today is because of the time I've spent with this woman. So, and you can see why. I mean,
It's mutual.
it ain't hard to tell.
It's mutual, my friend.
Yeah.
And she is working on her own podcast, so there's going to be a lot more content for her
Oh,
where all the dwellers can just consume all of this.
and I promise you're going to need to. So, we'll have.
Tim, you've been so gracious to me and generous.
Oh.
You know what you've done for me? You have shared your amazing team with me,
Absolutely correct.
which is going way above and beyond our friendship even.
No, not for me.
Well, I feel that way.
Yeah.
I feel incredibly grateful that Hector, your producer, is going
Yeah.
to produce my podcast
Absolutely.
and content.
No, it's in. Well, we need it. We need your content. We need your voice.
you.
We need your content. We need to have a space. One of the things that I'm very, very aware of is that as safe of a space that I've created as a recipient of therapy, not as a therapist. And so there's some people that attempt to play the role of therapist
Yeah.
when they're just a client of it.
Yeah.
right? Now, I've been doing it for 25 years, so I know how to navigate people, but I know where to drop them off and I know where to pass them off to. And your podcast is going to be a place and a space that we get to pass people off to for them to really grow in the awareness of their mental health. And so I'm happy. I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
Get your voice in the space where people can hear it.
You are such a kind, generous man. So thank you.
I love you so much.
I love you, man.
Love you. And we love you. And until next time, peace.
So press B with me and let's let whatever gon' be just be. Yeah. So press B with me and let's let whatever gon' be just be.